Guys, thank you for tuning into our 25th episode, the 25th episode extravaganza of the Unlockable podcast. Why is it an extravaganza? Because we're giving away a digital copy of Kirby and the Forgotten Land on Switch, and it's super easy to enter.
That's right. If you want to win a digital copy of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, listen up, y'all. All you need to do is give this podcast a review wherever you're listening to it, and then message us with a screenshot. It's that easy.
For example, if you're on the Apple Podcast app listening to this, all we need to see is a screenshot of the rating and review that you left us, and we will get you entered into the giveaway.
If you're listening on YouTube, just give us a thumbs up and a comment. It's as simple as that. You can message us also on Discord, Instagram, Twitter, or whatever is easier for you. All of our social media is super easy to find, and I am GameGirlAdvanceSP on Instagram.
I'm at BirdDog Gaming everywhere, so yeah, get yourself in on this giveaway. Meanwhile, sit back and enjoy our podcast. We've put in a tremendous amount of time and effort preparing for this one, and I hope you guys enjoy learning about the history of the little pink gumball. Welcome back to the Unlockable podcast. I'm Christian, and joining me as always is the Game Girl Advance SP herself.
That's me.
Hannah, it is the 25th episode. We have been recording for 25 years straight. Can you believe it?
25 years?
I can't believe it.
We're old.
I think you're 25, maybe 24, right?
I'm 24, so wow, we started before I was born. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, so welcome back, guys. This is the 25th episode. As you know, because you already heard the first minute of this podcast, we're doing a giveaway. Definitely enter that. Yeah, we just want to give back to the community. We're buying this out of our own pockets, and yeah, get yourself a copy of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which we will definitely be talking about more, obviously, towards the end of the podcast. So yeah, if you noticed, we did not have a February episode, and instead of just kind of leaving you guys in the dark right there, I figured we could discuss that a little bit. I know you guys are super understanding out there. Life does come in the way sometimes, and yeah, do you want to take it away, Hannah?
Yeah, I'll take it away. So we skipped February because I had some family issues. There was a death in my family, and our unofficial mascot decided to scare me half to death with almost dying on me. But, you know, she's good, and all family issues are resolved, so I'm back and ready to go.
Keep our lovely marbles in your thoughts, guys. The unofficial mascot. All right, so let's get back into it. It's been a minute, and I am excited for this awesome episode.
Me too.
What have you been buying? What have you been playing, if anything, Hannah?
The only thing that I've been buying and been playing is, I guess, related to this episode, is Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which I bought day one, obviously. And I'm very much enjoying it so far, but I don't want to say anything else because I think we're going to get into that later.
Don't say anything else, Hannah.
That's it. That's all.
All right. Well, surprisingly, I've not been buying a lot of stuff the last, like throughout February. I did write down just a few highlights of what I have bought. And obviously, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, picked that up. Today is Saturday, so I picked it up yesterday, March 25th. For my birthday earlier this month, I got myself Rayman on the Atari Jaguar. I freaking won an auction. And yeah, this is the first Rayman game. Came out before all the other versions, and I feel like I can officially call myself a Rayman collector now.
Wow. Are you going to play it on your Jaguar?
I wish I could. Yeah, I was just a poser Rayman collector before this month, but now it's official, guys.
Congratulations.
I bought from a Discord friend, Funtime Wallace. I bought the Epic Mickey Collector's Edition on Wii. Have you ever seen this thing?
No. Does it come with Mickey Mouse ears?
It does not. This is not Disneyland. I got so it comes with a statue of Mickey, and I actually played this game growing up. I never beat it, But when I was, like 13 or whenever this game came out, it was not a terrible game. It's like a 3D action adventure game. Um, and I've always wanted to go back and play it. I just never have. But yeah, this is a pretty cool. Like, you didn't see a lot of statues in the Wii days, I feel like. Um, it's about the height of the DVD case that the Wii case.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes in a big box. There's some other stuff in there. I think like there's stickers to put on your console and on your controller. Surprisingly pretty cheap. Like you can go and grab this for like $40 right now on eBay. I was really surprised with how cheap this thing is still. But very cool
That's
piece
kinda
for the
cool.
collection. On brand with the episode, I bought Kirby's Dream Collection. For the Wii, it's the special edition. I think there was only the special edition. I don't think they ever made anything else.
Yep.
Do you have this?
Heck yeah, I do.
Awesome. Did you get it when it came out?
No. I got it very much later. I actually found it. I was just in a GameStop randomly a long time ago, a couple years ago actually, and it was just sitting on the shelf, and I was like, "Yep, I want that."
Oh heck
So I
yeah!
bought it.
I mean, this is such a cool thing that I feel like every Wii owner needs to have. I mean, it's just a really nice box with some really quality games. The game itself, well, you know what? That's a topic for later, right? We're gonna talk about it later.
Yep, it's mine.
Yeah, it is.
Back off.
A couple. So I've been putting in some more time getting GameCube titles. So a couple of highlights is Animal Crossing. I got the black label with the freaking memory card. Very cool. And I got. Are you ready? I got Ribbit King.
Hey, I have that.
I know, because you're a real GameCube collector.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, so this
Cool.
cost me a very pretty penny, the prettiest of all the pennies probably, and yeah, just a dude on Twitter who reached out to me, and he's being super trustworthy. Like, he doesn't even want me to pay until it arrives, which I was totally gonna pay, but he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, I know you can't trust me. I'm just a random guy on the internet. So, very awesome guy.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's like unheard of.
I know.
That's
I guess
borderline crazy.
yeah. So really appreciate that guy. Yeah, and I bought a couple other games from him, but that's all I've been buying for the most part.
Oh, that's all. Oof.
It was
Disappointed.
only 6 games, Hannah.
Oh, disappointed.
That's all I'm gonna mention at least. All right, so been playing so much stuff lately. You probably see my Instagram story constantly. I am playing Dying Light 2, which in the January episode I mentioned I was going to be buying a new zombie game this in February, and that came out. I bought it a few days after it released for PS4, so I have not put enough time into that one yet, but I have been playing it. Pretty good. Yeah, I need to put some more time into it before I talk about it more. I beat Panzer Dragoon and Panzer Dragoon Orta just like randomly. So Panzer Dragoon obviously on Saturn, Orta's on Xbox. I think those are some pretty cool rail shooters, like Star Fox type. I've definitely talked about them on the podcast before, but I finally beat both of them. Pretty cool to see. Hannah, I think this is the first Saturn game I've ever beaten.
I was about to say, you played it actually on the Saturn?
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
It was pretty cool. The controller's really nice. I think the Saturn is super cool. I just wish I had more games to play on it, you know.
Too bad it killed Sega. Wah wah.
Alright, so Orta, actually, whenever you beat Orta, you unlock the original Panzer Dragoon. I love seeing that crap in games.
That's cool.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore. But I did decide to play it on the Saturn regardless.
So is it like what is it called? Orza or Orza? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Is it like a sequel or like a prequel?
Yeah, it's the last game in the series. So I played the first game and the last game.
How many are there?
I think there's 4. So the middle one, the middle 2 I don't own.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and one of them is like $2,000 on the Saturn. Panzer Dragoon Saga. Yeah.
Ouch.
I played through Psychonauts 2, which people might remember as a Game of the Year contender last year. Really freaking love that game. It has me wanting to go and play the first Psychonauts soon. Um, yeah, I don't think it's on Switch, but if you ever get the chance, if you ever get a chance, that is an awesome game. Would definitely recommend it. I'm also playing the other game of the year, the actual winner of the game of the year. It Takes Two. I would say Psychonauts 2 takes the cake on that personally.
Ooh, controversial.
A couple more here. I beat Pokemon Legends Arceus. Did you ever finish that one up?
I have not finished it yet, no.
Okay. It was a great time. I'm still working on the after credits stuff.
No spoilers. Yeah. No spoilers.
No spoilers. And Hannah, I am playing. This is one I should have mentioned in the been buying, but I'm playing The Legend of Zelda, the original Zelda.
Wow. How are you playing it though?
I'm playing on NES. No, I'm sorry. I'm playing on Switch Online. So I'm taking turns with my cousin. We're just like kind of working through it together. This game, I looked it up on howlongtobeat.com, right? They said 8 hours. This game has taken me probably like 3 times that. I mean, it is very for your first time playing through this game without cheating, without using any freaking map. Like, I'm using the map the game originally came with, and yeah, there's a lot of cryptic stuff. There is a lot of stuff that you would not expect to be in this game. I mean, it's super, super interesting to say the least.
I found it very difficult, and if you think that's difficult, try Zelda 2, which is even worse. But yeah, I very much struggled to get through it my first playthrough as well. So you're not alone.
I am glad to hear that. But yeah, it's definitely one that you need to have under your belt. I played the original Mario a couple months ago, and now I'm playing the original Zelda. It's just things that I feel like you have to play to experience it.
Be called a gamer. Uh-huh.
Wasn't gonna go there. And yeah, we're playing on Switch Online. Obviously, I don't use save states. Can't even say the word.
You said what?
Yeah. Just in case anyone was wondering if I was that type of gamer. Anyways, Hannah, let's get into the news. I only have one thing written down, and I think you always go first, so I'm going to go first real quick.
Okay.
PlayStation is about to release their Xbox Game Pass clone. I've heard some rumors about it for a while, and now it's finally happening. They're going to do this. I don't even know what they're calling it, but Spartacus. I think next week.
Codename Spartacus. It's codename Spartacus.
Okay. So no one knows what the official name is yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think next week they're going to announce some news about it. I'm expecting it to be, the same
awful
price as Game Pass. Did you say awful?
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sure it'll be solid. I think that they said they're not going to have their AAA titles release day one. So, it's a Game Pass clone, but a step down. And I think it'll have a lot of good retro stuff on it. I think that'll be what makes people happy. If they can see like PS1, 2, 3 games on there, then that will definitely entice a lot of people to pick it up. But yeah, we'll have to see. There's not a whole lot to talk about at the moment.
Yeah, I'm interested to see as well. I mean, I know I can't really say anything because Nintendo's like really behind on all this, but like, I know people were really upset. Like, that's not what they wanted when they said they wanted like backwards compatibility. They wanted to be able to plug their PS1 game into their PS4 or PS5 and have it work. You know? Which I still think it should, but whatever. I'm not a PlayStation fan, so maybe I don't really get an opinion. But we'll see. See what happens.
All right, take it away.
My turn? Okay. First thing, another controversial thing, is Nintendo is closing both the 3DS and the Wii U storefronts in March of next year. What do you think about that?
Guess I don't have a big opinion on it. I think these things have to happen. Get your stuff. You have 12 months, guys. Get your DSi. Nope, that's already closed. What can you get? Get your NES Remix, guys. It's digital only, I think.
Yep. So people were definitely up in arms about that. But like, do they expect it to be open for like ever? I mean, really,
Right.
the 3DS is, it died very slowly. The Wii U died very quickly. Okay, no one's really playing those anymore, and so apparently no one's buying digital games either. That's why they're closing it. Anyway, next
Nobody
topic.
cares. Nobody cares until there's a headline, right? Like nobody's buying games every day on the 3DS eShop, and then they hear about it, and then they're pissed off. Nobody's pissed until they hear about it closing.
Right. They're like, oh my god, I've had so much time to buy these games and I haven't. How dare you close it? Yeah, anyway, get your games. Get your digital games before they're gone forever. Nintendo also announced that they are shutting down their mobile game called Dragalia Lost, which is sad because I thought that actually was doing very well for Nintendo. Also, why do they have to shut it down? Like, I don't understand why they're just, like, getting rid of all of their mobile games. Like, Dr. Mario is obviously gone now.
Oh, that one hurt me.
But, like, I don't understand why they can't keep that open.
I don't understand it either. Everybody else seems to keep their games on the App Store forever.
I mean, I can still freaking play, God, what was that game? Flappy Bird? I can still play Flappy Bird.
Oh my gosh.
On one of my old iPhones.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. The next one's very exciting. Hogwarts Legacy, which is like the new Harry Potter game, is actually coming to the Switch. No cloud version, like an actual physical version in the fall.
That's you a Harry Potter girl?
I mean, I'm not like a hardcore fan, but yeah, I mean, I like Harry Potter. Damn,
That's awesome.
I grew up watching Harry Potter.
I've never seen any of them.
Dude!
I do think that it's super cool. I think, like, I have a couple of friends that are obsessed with the franchise, and I think that it's going to be a great game.
You, sir, are missing out. Because, I mean, I read all the books when I was younger. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's very exciting. I thought I was going to be missing out on that because, I don't have like a PS5 or a new Xbox, but it's coming to the Switch, which is so exciting. Next thing is Nintendo added folders to the Switch, meaning that you can categorize your Switch games now.
Oh, yeah.
They just kind of like randomly dropped that out of nowhere after people were asking for it, literally since the Switch came out.
I like to put things on Xbox in like my currently playing folder. So that's what I went and did on Switch.
Very nice. No, I'm categorizing mine like Zelda games, Mario games, multiplayer games, nice. And also you can put them in like multiple folders too, so it's not like just one, which is very convenient. Next thing, like we said, we didn't have a podcast in February, but there was a direct in February on February 9th. And I just kind of wanted to go over the highlights, just the things that I was excited about. So, the rumored Fire Emblem game, which I think people were thinking it was going to be like a remake or a remaster of Path of Radiance, I think from the GameCube, or Radiant Dawn in the Wii. But that's not what happened. Not saying that that's not happening at some point. But they announced a Warrior Styles game set in the Three Houses universe called Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, which is interesting. We also got to see more of Splatoon 3, specifically Salmon Run, which is there's like a new ability where you can like throw the eggs instead of having to like carry them to the basket, and new enemies. It actually made it look like a lot more difficult than it was in Splatoon 2. Yeah. Mario is getting a new soccer game. I know you're excited about that one.
I am very excited. I forgot about it actually, but I think it's going to be excellent. Very much looking forward to it.
It's called Mario Strikers Battle League. Wii Sports, Nintendo Switch Sports is coming to the Switch. But we thought that they took out the Miis, but I don't think that's the case. They went with like a more modern, like cartoony style, but there are still Miis. They confirmed that there are still Miis.
Did they really?
So, yeah, there is gameplay of Miis, I'm pretty sure. Then they announced that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is getting DLC. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first off, the Switch Sports, that should have been a pack-in title, honestly. I mean, that game looks great and all, but that should have come with the console in 2017.
What should have? The Sports?
Switch Sports.
Oh, well. I guess they just hadn't thought about it. Or they haven't, it's taken them 5 years to develop it. Who knows?
What's the next one we're talking about?
Wait, are you kidding me? You wanted it to release alongside The Legend of Zelda? They would never do that, okay? They want everyone to buy Zelda first. What are you talking about? Would you rather have sports or Zelda
I
launch?
think it should have been a pack-in title. Zelda was not packed into the console.
Well, I guess. But would you rather have people playing, Nintendo Switch Sports or Zelda? Zelda. Crazy. Zelda. But yeah, you're right. It probably could have come out a lot sooner, but who knows? Then, like I said, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is getting DLC. It's not Mario Kart 9, which people were upset about. But you can get 48 new courses, which is basically a new game, right? For $25, or it's included in the expansion pass of NSO. So
I would say it is essentially bonkers. It is pretty freaking cool. I'm not buying it. I don't even have the game on Switch, but I do think that it is a very cool DLC. I think a lot of people I've seen on Twitter are really enjoying it. I have listened to the soundtracks while I'm at work, and they are pretty sweet. Pretty sweet new soundtracks.
Huh. Interesting. So yeah, a lot of people were upset that obviously it wasn't Mario Kart 9. And then a lot of people are upset that like the quality of the course, like the graphics of the course weren't like up to snuff. Like they weren't up to their standards. They didn't look like the original ones, which I didn't really see anything that was like absolutely just like, oh my god, that's atrocious looking,
Yeah.
It's just like that flower over there way in the distance that you probably won't even see. It's kind of low res. Or it doesn't have a lot of detail on it.
People definitely had their magnifying glasses out with all those complaints.
That's crazy. But yeah, that's a pretty good deal. I don't know if I'll get it because I haven't played Mario Kart in a really long time, but I don't know. We'll see. And then we'll see how long it takes for Mario Kart 9 to come out. I mean, that was seriously out of the blue.
It was out of the blue, and I literally laughed out loud when I saw that announcement because people begging for Mario Kart 9. And it just cracked me up so hard to see that happen because it was like, yeah, we're definitely, and they even said like this is gonna last through like 2023 or something.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
And then the next thing, this is just a small announcement, but No Man's Sky is coming to the Switch, which is the game that I said I wanted from like the Ports We Want episode, which is kind of exciting. Chrono Cross is coming to the Switch, which is, I guess, the perfect time to get into those. Portal 1 and 2 also coming to the Switch via the Portal Companion Collection. Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings are coming to NSO. Are they out already? They might already be out.
They are. I've been playing Earthbound. Forgot to mention that.
Oh, really?
I have put a good 10 or 12 hours into it. It's a lot of fun.
Is it worth the hype?
Yeah, it actually is. The characters and the story are so bizarre. It's so funny.
Huh. Well, there you go. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention, because I am just so excited about it, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was revealed and is coming out in September. Super excited for this. There's definitely, they haven't really explained like much about like what the story's going on. They just kind of had like a teaser trailer. But there's definitely some obvious connections to the first one and the second one. So I don't know. This is going to be some plot twisty and like universe bending stuff, and I'm so excited for it.
The stuff that Hannah lives for.
I cannot wait, and it's coming out in September. That's only a few months away.
Yeah, I was super surprised to see it was coming out this year, and super happy for you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so very excited. Can't wait for that inevitable collector's edition that I'm going to try to get.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. And, yep, that's all I got.
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for the news, I think. Hannah, it's time for the big, exciting 25th episode topic. And today, what are we talking about?
Just a lovable pink little fuzz. Kirby.
I don't think he's fuzzy. I think he is very
fleshy?
soft.
You think he's fleshy?
Oh my gosh, that is a disgusting word.
Wow. Okay, I was thinking about this earlier, but you know how like the in Detective Pikachu, the Pokemon are like fleshy? What if he was like that?
Then no one would buy his games. That's what would happen.
Yeah, you're right. So you don't think he's fluffy? He's not fleshy. If he's not fluffy, what is he?
He's soft. Soft
okay,
and smooth.
So he's furry?
Furry? I'm trying to... Like a pillow is what he is.
So he's
Pillows
fabric.
aren't... Okay, I can live with fabric. I cannot live with fleshy.
Okay, alright. Continue.
Guys, we're talking about Kirby today. The absolute history of Kirby. We're talking from the beginning all the way through March 25th of 2022. Kirby and the Forgotten Land released yesterday as of the recording of this podcast, and yeah, I thought it'd be a great time to do our first real history episode. I know Hannah and I are both pretty passionate about video game history, and I think this is going to be a really fun and really just awesome episode. How are you feeling, Hannah?
I'm feeling knowledgeable, actually.
Yeah, seriously. I am so Kirby'd out and still excited to play some more Forgotten Land tonight, actually.
Me too.
Alright, so let's do it. This is how it's going to go down, guys. We're going to talk about HAL Labs. We're going to talk about Mr. Iwata himself and how Kirby came to be, and then we're just going to start going through literally every Kirby game. I think there are about 30 total we counted earlier, maybe 40. I forgot what the number was.
I think it's about 40.
Okay, and then we're going to talk about Forgotten Land at the very end. So, without further ado, let's get into it. We have, so a guy named Satoru Iwata purchased his first computer back in 1978, the Commodore PET. He was taking the computer apart and putting it back together time and time again, learning exactly how it worked. Okay, so this is, as many of us already know, the man who was the president of Nintendo up until a few years ago when he unfortunately passed away. In school, he was a computer science major, and his engineering professor said that he could program better, faster, and more accurately than anyone at the college. Also, while he was in college, he got an internship working for Commodore, and also while he was in college, while all of this was going on, he and his friends were designing games in their spare time. Iwata would take his games around to different places, he said, and he would show them off, and one of these places was a department store called Seibu. There was a team of employees there who had actually started their own company, and in 1980 they asked him if he'd be interested in joining. They were impressed with his work on on his games and stuff, and that company turned out to be HAL Laboratory. He was HAL's 5th employee when he accepted the position. He was their very first programmer, and by 1983 they were ready to begin making games for the Famicom. Iwata set up a meeting with Nintendo, and HAL was granted access to start developing games for the system, because if you remember back in those days, Nintendo would not let just anybody develop for their hardware. Nintendo's engineers actually gave HAL some projects to work on after that, and their first release, this was one of the projects Nintendo gave them, was a port of Joust, the 1982 arcade title. They had 3 months to develop the game, and Iwata made it happen in 2 months.
Wow.
He was apparently a brilliant mind, a brilliant programmer. So yeah, he wowed everybody, I think. While him and his team did finish the game, the licensing agreement that Nintendo and Atari had actually fell through, because Atari was licensing out the home console versions of the Williams arcade machine, and so that game actually didn't release for a few years. Fast forward, their next task was to fix problems with Pinball on Famicom, which they did, and they got that game out in 1984. And then HAL was given more tasks as time went on, and the president of Nintendo, Hiroshi Yamauchi, began to really trust them. He was investing money into HAL, and that technically made them a second-party developer under Nintendo. Iwata worked with Shigeru Miyamoto on a racing game that ended up becoming Famicom Grand Prix 2 3D Hot Rally. For those of you that don't know Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario and a lot of staples in the Nintendo world. What am I trying to say here? I don't want to list a bunch of stuff and then be wrong. I think he made Donkey Kong and Link and Zelda. I'm not sure what else he is responsible for, But yeah, Shigeru Miyamoto, big name in Nintendo. The first IP that HAL released was Eggerland, which we would get in the States. Here in the States, it would be known as The Adventures of Lolo, one of my personal favorite games on the NES. So by 1991, HAL was up to 90 employees, and they would go on to release some pretty darn impressive games. One was a Super Nintendo game called Hyperzone, a very early launch title game that was groundbreaking for the time. And then Metal Slater Glory on the original Famicom. That game was super impressive as well, but neither of them would become the hit that really got the company the traction they were striving for. Between games not selling great and their brand new headquarters being built, HAL was in debt. Yamauchi reached out, the president of Nintendo, offering to rescue them from bankruptcy, and the only condition he had was that Satoru Iwata be made president of the company. So in 1993, that is exactly what happened.
Wow. I knew absolutely none of that. Which I'm sure is not surprising.
Most of that information, if anybody's wondering, came from Wikipedia and good old gaming historian on YouTube.
So what you're saying is, if any of that information is wrong, it's not your fault.
What do you have for us?
Okay, so Nintendo eventually, I guess since they have such a good relationship now, commissioned them to make a Game Boy game. I think they were planning it not to be so difficult and it's physics based as Mario was. Super Mario Bros. Is a little unforgiving. If you land on an enemy, you die. Or if you make a wrong jump, you die. So they're like, okay, we want you to make a game that anyone can play, even if they don't have any prior gaming experience at all. So Kirby was conceived by Sakurai while he was a game developer for HAL Laboratory. He was designing a Game Boy game and just had a blob as a placeholder until they could figure out what they wanted the main character to be. So yeah, like I said, he was planning it so that anyone could pick it up, anyone who didn't have any experience. So it's just probably why Kirby games are pretty easy in general. They kind of kept that through the entire development
30 years
of the series. Yeah. So the idea of the player using the enemies to as an attack was something that they had from the very beginning. Actually, one of Sakurai's scrapped ideas was for the player to kick and headbutt enemies like a soccer ball.
Wow.
That was obviously scrapped. That's not what he uses now. And so he came up with the idea, because he didn't want it to be as difficult as Mario and you fall in the pit and you die. He came up with the idea of being able to float, so you could just kind of float out of those situations if you were ever in it, which is something that's obviously stayed with Kirby the entire time. And HAL liked the idea, so they just kind of stuck with it. And he and the team eventually grew fond of the little blob placeholder, and they just kind of kept it. He also gave Kirby the ability to absorb other enemies' abilities, which he didn't have in the first game, but he can absorb a bomb and then shoot it out, or absorb an enemy and shoot it out. It wasn't until later they actually got the ability to copy other people's abilities that we know in the Kirby series now. So in the original name of Kirby was Popopo, which is P-O-P-O-P-O, which is very a Japanese name. And so they wanted it to sound a little more American, a little more Western, a little more modern. So Sakurai said he didn't quite understand or remember where he got the name Kirby from. So he turned to Miyamoto, and when Miyamoto was asked about it, he said that it was kind of named after the lawyer who helped defend. This is actually really interesting. Defend against Universal, who was suing Nintendo because Universal said that Donkey Kong was too similar to King Kong. So Universal sued Nintendo, and the guy who defended them was a guy named John Kirby. And so Miyamoto said that he was not named necessarily after John Kirby, but he was thinking of John Kirby in the back of his mind. And they're like, yeah, that sounds right. And so usually in Japan, with such a cute and fuzzy little character, in Japan they usually have a really soft sounding name. And in Japanese, Kirby is kind of like a really harsh sounding name, and so they liked how funny the contrast was, and so they just kept it.
Oh, that's cool.
Which
I
I thought
have
was really
definitely,
interesting.
I have definitely heard that story. But yeah, super interesting. I'm pretty sure they said that that guy John Kirby got a copy of Kirby's Dreamland or Kirby's Adventure in the mail, and he just laughed about it once they saw
Really,
the
that's
name.
awesome. Well, because I assume he had to be kind of fierce. Like a lawyer has to be kind of fierce. So
Right.
I think that kind of fit Kirby just a little bit. And so about the color. So Kirby, as you know, on the cover of Kirby's Dreamland, he's white, which is kind of a funny thing. So Sakurai always intended Kirby to be pink, right? And Miyamoto always wanted the color to be yellow. But because they hadn't like really decided on a color before the game was ported to the US, Nintendo of America was just like, I guess we'll make him white because he doesn't have a color, and that's what color he is on like the Game Boy. So they made him white. Even though that's the only version where he's white, because in Japan he's actually pink, and everywhere else he's pink. So yeah, that's why Kirby's white, and like literally all of the early advertisements for Kirby. Oh, it's okay. They corrected that after. On literally every other box art around the world. But don't worry, Miyamoto's color preference wasn't totally ignored because the default of the second player is always yellow.
I did not ever realize that. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yep. So he got his second place. He got his wish, kind of. So then I guess a little bit about Kirby Dreamland 1. It's a 2D platformer, like I said. You inhale enemies and you spin it back out. And you float around, you fly around. It's very typical. The gameplay is very typical of like a 8-bit and 16-bit platformer of that time. You can move left to right, up and down, but obviously it's not 3D. And yeah, you just kind of traverse the land. It's a very simple kind of Kirby game. They get more intricate as we go. But it was released in 1992 in August for the US and April for Japan. And then it went to Europe on August 3rd of 1992. It is obviously the first game in the Kirby series. He's white on the box art, look at him go. And this is actually one of like the first times, this is the first time I guess, that Kirby has like whiskers. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but he has whiskers on the box art.
I feel like this whole week I've been doing Kirby research, and I did not realize that there was Kirby whiskers on that box art.
Yep, Kirby whiskers.
That's
obviously is later corrected to have like cute pink little cheeks. The game was also re-released on the 3DS Virtual Console in 2011. And it's not one that you can play on NSO, is it?
No, there's no Game Boy games.
Right, because there's no Game Boy games. But yeah, that's all I got for that one.
All right, let me get my notes situated here because I just did something. Yeah, so we're going to get into Kirby's Adventure here. The first ever console game, and the first time Kirby was pink. 1 second. Alright.
In the US, at least.
Right, but I mean, he wasn't technically pink in the game until this game because of the Game Boy's hardware.
True.
Alright. Obviously developed by HAL Labs, Sakurai is the director and designer once again. Satoru Iwata and Shigeru Miyamoto were co-producing this game. Originally, the game was being developed as a port of Dreamland, which is the game Hannah was just talking about for the Famicom, but Sakurai said the Game Boy was a platform for beginner gamers and decided to make a new game for the home console audience instead. He thought that the NES and Famicom audience was more experienced than the handheld players. Interesting take. When Dreamland came out, a lot of players said the game was too easy and too short, which led the team to creating the copy ability that Kirby is known for today. They felt that this would improve replayability, which I guess is a pretty good way to look at it. You might play level 4 as Fire Kirby, and then you decide to go play as a different Kirby. Just like things like that, I think.
Never thought of it like that, but yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Just in case the main game was too difficult, they also added mini games that were not at all difficult. Kirby could run and do a little slide attack in this game, which was a first for the series, and the game was released on the NES in 1993, which was just 2 years after the SNES had already been out, which, the common example I like to use is like if they made a freaking Wii game. Well, actually, you can imagine it because Just Dance definitely came out 2 years after the Wii U was already out. So maybe that's a bad example. But yeah, pretty crazy to think about. The Famicom, when this game released, had turned 10 years old in Japan at this point. So this was an extremely late release for the NES and Famicom. The first thing you'll notice on the box art is that Kirby is actually pink now, like I said. Sakurai had always envisioned Kirby as a pink character, like Hannah said. He had to be black and white on the Game Boy screen. Alright, we already talked about that. So this is the first appearance of Meta Knight. Good old Meta Knight, who everybody has come to know and love. He's made it all the way into the Smash Bros. Games. But yeah, he's unnamed in this game, and this game was well received. It made it into the top of Famitsu's charts in May of 1993. It was highly praised by reviewers for its unique copyability, the enemy design, the graphics, and the tight controls. The size and variety of levels was also a big one that reviewers praised. The game was more favored amongst children under 12, definitely due to how easy it was. Because the console was out for 10 years, developers were able to truly maximize the hardware, and Kirby really benefited from it. In 2014, IGN labeled Kirby's Adventure as the 84th best Nintendo game of all time.
Huh.
The game would later be ported to virtual consoles, the NES Classic, Kirby's Dream Collection on Wii, and probably 10 other ways to play it. And then, yeah, it was remade later for the Game Boy Advance in Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland, but I will save that one for later.
Ooh, the suspense.
So back over on the Game Boy, HAL Labs developed Kirby's Pinball Land, which released in 1993. This would be HAL Labs' third pinball game, actually, after Rollerball and Revenge of the Gator. This is
Never
the
heard
first...
of any of those.
Taking it back to one of our... me either. Taking it back to one of our other episodes, this is the first Kirby spin-off game. So in this game, Kirby's the ball, and there are 3 pinball tables based on Kirby bosses, which is pretty cool. Each table has 3 floors, and you have to get to the top of each table where you will find a boss, and you literally have to hit, like, using pinball arms and hit the boss with Kirby, which is pretty sweet. The tables are Wispy Woods, Krakow, and Poppy Bros. This is the first pinball game I've ever heard of that you can actually beat, I feel like. Like, it's not just about high score. You can actually go and roll credits on this game, which honestly entices me to play it more. It was the best-selling game in the UK in 1994 for 2 months straight. EGM magazine rated the game a 7.25. They said it was one of the better pinball games on the platform, despite the blurring of the Game Boy screen, making it difficult to see what all is going on. Let's be honest, it's difficult to see anything on that screen anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, it made it to the 3DS Virtual Console in 2012. You ever played that game?
I have not. I'm not gonna lie, I don't even know if I knew it existed.
Yeah, I feel that.
All right,
you are up.
My turn. So we are first starting out with... Okay, first of all, I'm going to say, like, the structure of my notes here. So I'm going to give you, like, what the game is about, and then do what the gameplay is, how it differs from other things, if there's a multiplayer or not, reception, I thought that was important, and then fun facts, which is my favorite section. So let's go.
Everybody's favorite section.
So first is Kirby's Dream Course, which, funny enough, is like the first, I think one of the first Kirby games. No, I can't even say that. It's one of the first Kirby games that I had played after like realizing that Kirby just doesn't exist in like Smash Bros. And I was like very confused because I was like, I thought this was a platformer, and then I played that and I was like, that's not what it is at all. So Kirby's Dream Course is a golf themed Kirby game, but it also has elements of like bowling, as if like the enemies act as the pins. It was developed by HAL Laboratory and Nintendo EAD, which stands for Nintendo Analysis and Development. I don't know why that has a distinction, but it does. It was released in 1994 in Japan and 1995 in North America and Europe for the SNES. It was then later re-released on the Wii and the Wii U and the 3DS Virtual Console, and is one of the games included on the SNES Classic, which I have, which is how I played it. And it's also on NSO. So there's a bunch of ways to play this game. The plot and events of the games are like actually different depending on the version you have, which is very exciting. The Japanese version, there is a short cutscene that establishes the story if the player waits on the title screen, which doesn't exist in the North American version. The North American manual has like the game and the story and the description of it all, and it has way more details, but the how it plays out is slightly different, which I think is interesting. Explanations were given for why enemies drop stars when Kirby defeats them, so it kind of like sets up the game a little bit more. But yeah, the story's not like in the game.
What a strange thing to cut.
Like, right? It just kind of like throws you in. Why did they do that? Who knows? Encourage you to read, I guess. You know,
True.
Education. This was one of the first games, like I said, that I decided to play on the SNES Classic. Very confused. Didn't know what was going on. I was like, this is not what I'm used to. Is this what Kirby is? Had me second guessing like what Kirby was. Gameplay. The graphics of the game are completely 2D, but it was the first Kirby game with like 3D gameplay and physics. So it's 2D, but it's like kind of looks 3D because it's like on a golf. You know what I'm saying? It kind of looks like one of those stupid little like internet golf games that you play.
Oh yeah.
It's 2D, but it's like quasi 3D. So it's a golf style game, like I said, but they have copy abilities and enemies are on the course. You have to like defeat the enemies, and once you defeat the enemy, like the golf, what's that called? Golf hole.
That sounds right.
Ends the level. And from what I played, or like from what I watched and the very little bit that I played, it's very reminiscent of those golf games that you play on like the internet on like coolmath.com. But obviously like just oozing with that Kirby charm. They're cute little animations.
You're speaking to a very specific audience with coolmath.com.
Definitely not. Did you not play coolmath.com?
I did. I just think it's funny.
That's what it's like. Anyway, first of all, they're cute like little Kirby like related animations before every level. It's like it kind of tells you like what you're supposed to do, like what bad guys to beat and stuff. It's really cute. And you start on like a golf platform. Looks exactly like miniature golf would if it were on the TV. And you have a cursor, and you move the cursor around, and depending on like where the cursor goes is where Kirby goes. You roll around to the desired position, and then you just watch Kirby roll. And he hits enemies. One of the big one is like the stupid sad tree, which I think is called Wispy Woods.
His level is probably called Wispy Woods. I'm not sure.
Wispy Woods. No, I think that's his name. I think that's the tree's name. I'm pretty sure that's the tree's name, actually. I'm an expert. We should know that by now. There are also like little patches on the ground that like speed you up or slow you down or change your direction, stuff like that. It's not just like going in one direction. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just pretty much a golf game. It does have multiplayer. There are 4 different multiplayer courses, each having like a more difficult version that can be unlocked, which I think is really cool. The 4 courses are represented with 4 different main enemies. Wispy Woods, Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright, Kracko and Gordo. In multiplayer, players compete to get more stars, which can be obtained by defeating enemies or sinking into like the golf hole. I know there's a name for that. It's not just golf hole. But yeah, stars can also be stolen by the opposing player. So it's like a Mario Party situation almost. The second player actually plays with a character called Kibi, which is a yellow Kirby, which is in fact different. So I think what this one's saying is that the second player in like default is yellow, but that's not Kirby. Kirby is a very specific yellow Kirby, but not the Kirby that everyone else plays as default 2-player. Which I thought was really interesting. This is the only Kirby's only in this game, and he's not been seen outside of this multiplayer, which is interesting. And then fun facts. Kirby Dream Course was based on the gameplay and engine of an unreleased golf game for the SNES called Super T-Shot, which was made by Nintendo EAD again. Before the game was released, the game was redesigned as a Kirby spin-off and was handed to HAL Laboratory, who already had experience with golf games because they made the series Hole-in-One, if you've ever heard of that, which I have not.
No.
Yep. Okay. Next we have Kirby's Avalanche. It was developed by HAL, and Compile, which published developed games such as Puyo Puyo, which is why this game looks exactly like freaking Puyo Puyo games. It's a puzzle game released in 1995 in North America and Europe, and is the only Kirby game to have not been released in Japan.
It's a Puyo Puyo game featuring Po.
Yep. But it's literally Puyo Puyo. If you've ever played a Puyo Puyo game, which I thought were like more popular in Japan, but it's really interesting that it wasn't released in Japan.
Oh wow.
Anyway, this game is specifically a modification of Super Puyo Puyo, with the characters and songs from that game obviously being changed to Kirby characters and songs. Also, fun fact, the Puyo Puyo series was actually not introduced properly to regions outside of Japan until the early 2000s. So this was like the first Puyo Puyo game.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Like I said, it's basically a Puyo Puyo. If you don't know what that is, blobs fall from the top of the screen, very much Tetris style. And you have to match light colors, and then they disappear and you rack up more points. And the best way, obviously, to get the most points is to do combos. So if like one falls and disappears, it causes a chain reaction and blah, 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 blah. And in between matches or the battles, Kirby and the opponent, whatever opponent you're taking on, whether it's Wispy Winds or King DDD, they like trash talk each other in between
Love
each
it.
round. It's awesome. Like actually in full sentences. And boy, does Kirby have some freaking comebacks. So fun facts, in Europe, the game is actually called Kirby Ghost Trap, and the blocks themselves are like ghosts instead of just like blobs. This is the first game to call Meta Knight by his actual in-game name.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this is the first Kirby game that Kirby and King DDD are shown to speak. Like I said, they trash talk. And so, like I said, why the name is different is if you don't know Puyo Puyo, I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. The garbage Puyos are like the faceless blobs that kind of just appear depending on like how many points your opponent has, and if they make like a big combo, they just kind of show up on your screen and kind of try to block you. Are referred to as boulders in the American version, which is why it's called like Avalanche, because you know boulders are falling avalanche, and they're called ghosts in the European version. In the game's box either mentions an avalanche competition, depending on which version, or a ghost trap competition. And aside from these words, the advertising text on the back of the English boxes are exactly the same as is the in-game tutorial that mentions boulders or ghosts. So that's really the only difference. In Europe, they're called ghosties. They're called little ghosts instead of boulders, which I think is interesting. I don't know if they have something against boulders over there, but or maybe we have something against ghosts. Who knows?
I feel like America, with all of its, religious stuff, there's always so many things that have been cut that are like, I don't know, anti-Christianity, and I feel like ghosts could fall into that category. But I had no idea that that's what Kirby's Avalanche was.
Yep, it's just Puyo Puyo.
Very
and the third game that we have, well, those obviously were both spin-offs. This one's not a spin-off. This is Kirby's Dreamland 2. It's a platformer developed by HAL Laboratory and published by Nintendo, like most of these are.
Right.
It's for the Game Boy, released first in Japan, then North America and Europe. It's the third installation in the Kirby series, but the second in the Dreamland saga, and follows a Kirby on a continuation of his adventure from the first Dreamland in Kirby's Adventure, which I didn't realize that Kirby's Adventure was part of like that, like the same story.
Oh, me neither.
I always
Even
thought it
after
was
all my
1, 2,
research.
and 3. But no, it's Kirby's Adventure, then 1, 2, and 3. Very confusing. Again, this is a classic 2D platformer where Kirby can use his 3 new allies to help him traverse the land. You got freaking Mr. Hamtaro, which is the hamster guy. His name is Rick.
Oh, he's in Dreamland too?
Yep, his name is Rick the hamster. Rick.
I thought they seemed to like advertise that big time on Dreamland 3's box. I assumed that it was I assumed the animals were new to 3, but I've never played 2.
Nope. See, the only reason I know that it's in 2 is because I've actually played 2. That's like I think that's the only Dreamland Kirby game I have. But when I first started playing it, I obviously played it on someone else's save because all 3 of the saves are taken up. And I was just riding on Hamtaro's back, and I was like, what is this? I had no idea. That's what Dreamland 2 was. But yeah, you can ride on Rick the hamster. He runs faster and doesn't slip on ice. There's another ally called Coo the owl who carries Kirby through the air and allows Kirby to be able to inhale midair. And the final ally introduced in this game is Kine, Kine, the ocean sunfish, who carries Kirby in his mouth and allows you to swim through rapid currents with ease.
Love it.
Yep. And Kirby Dreamland 2 was a hit and became a bestseller for the Game Boy, selling more than 2 million copies, which is very impressive.
Very, very impressive.
Yep, and some fun facts. So, 7 characters in this game use a name that isn't used in any other Kirby title. Basically, essentially what they did is they just kind of like shortened the name because these are pretty long names. We have Floaty the Drifter, which is the name of the umbrella that the Waddle Dee are seen floating down with.
Right.
And later they would just be referred to as Drifter. Then we have Bouncy Tai, which is the Kirby spring-looking enemy. It is just referred to Bouncy in all future games. It's referred to as Polar Bomb in this game. And the appearance is pretty self-explanatory. It's a bomb. He's just referred to as Propeller in future titles. There's Sir Slippy, the frog character, who's just referred to as Slippy in the future, which leads me to question, are all frogs named Slippy in every game?
It leads me to question if the Star Fox universe is the same as the Kirby universe.
Oh, you think Slippy evolved to talk and fly spaceships? That's cool.
No, one's a toad, one's a frog. We gotta keep it straight.
Oh, he's a toad?
Slippy Toad.
Well, it's the same difference. And then we have Master Pengy, which I just think is a fun name. It's the penguin-looking character. It's just called Pengy in future titles. Jumper Shoot, 1 word, is called Jumper Shoot, 2 words in future appearances. And the most interesting one is Lord Kibble, which was mistranslated into Load Kibble for this game. He's later called Sir Kibble. You'll find that a lot. A lot of these things were like misspelled or mistyped or mistranslated, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the only game where Dark Matter is the primary antagonist and the final boss in the main series, and Dark Matter is referred to in this game as ! Fun fact. This is the only mainline Kirby game that does not feature Invincible Candy, which is I always thought it was like a magnifying glass with like the heart or like the star, but it's not. It's a lollipop. So all this time, I thought it was a magnifying glass. It's not. It's called Invincible Candy, and it's actually a lollipop, which is candy. Issue 72 of Nintendo Power made a mistake and states that Kirby Dreamland 2 offers the player limited continues. Could you imagine that?
Oh, it would have been kind of difficult?
Yeah. In reality, the game offers unlimited continues. So fear not. But yep, that's all I got.
All right, let's head into another spin-off title. We got Kirby's Block Ball, and you'll notice that Kirby gets to be a ball a lot because he literally is a ball.
A ball.
This was developed by HAL and Nintendo R&D 1, released in '95 for the Game Boy. I'm realizing there are a lot of Game Boy Kirby games and Super Nintendo.
There are just a lot of Kirby games in general.
Alright, so after the game had been in development for a while, they realized that it didn't feel like a Kirby game and spent 6 months revising the gameplay. That was a lot more time back then to make a game than it is today, for sure. This must have been. Oh, I said that this must have benefited them because reviewers ended up praising the game for how well it fit in the Kirby universe. So this is a
Really?
breakout clone, basically. It is a pretty cool you know what breakout is, right?
Yeah. Who doesn't? But you should explain it anyway.
It's just basically, how do I describe it? You have the little platform at the bottom of the screen, and the ball is bouncing, and you have to break the blocks at the top of the screen.
Complicated.
Anyways, it's a breakout clone. To make the game more Kirby, they added stone, spark, flame, and needle power-ups that could transform Kirby and allow him to interact with blocks differently. The game got a huge range of colors when playing on the Super Game Boy. I actually really want a Super Game Boy, because I think that it would be so cool to see all of the palette changes whenever you plug it into the Super Nintendo. I think it's super super fun, super cool. There are 55 levels, and honestly, I think the game looks like a blast. It is available on the 3DS Virtual Console, so make sure you snag that before March of 2023. Alright, that one was kind of short, just kind of a little spin-off title, nothing special, but this next one I find super interesting. Kirby's Toy Box. This is something I had never heard of, and when I started looking into it, it was released exclusively in Japan for the Super Famicom's Satellaview, which was an add-on that would connect to a satellite system and allow you to play mini-games on your console.
I'm sorry,
Have you
what?
ever heard of this? This
No.
blew my freaking mind. Yeah. So Kirby games were released on a set schedule via this service. Basically, you have this little add-on that you literally plug into the slot in the Super Nintendo, and it connects to the satellite, and it made me think about Splatoon, how the maps change randomly. This, literally the games change randomly at certain times, and so there were 10 different games featured, and they were on a set schedule. I don't know where you found this schedule or if it was even released to the public, but yeah, you would log on to your Satellaview, and that's the Kirby game you'd be playing for the day, I guess.
That's
But
freaking awesome.
the games were a range ball, ball rally, baseball, cannonball, guru ball, pinball, and then Hoshi, Kuzushi, and Pachinko, because Japanese love their Pachinko machines. So yeah, lots of ball Kirby's going around. I did get to look at some of the gameplay on YouTube, and it blows my mind that there's gameplay for these, because they didn't exactly have, the ability to record this game, the gameplay in the 90s, and I have no idea how you would dig up these. How is their gameplay is what I'm trying to say. I have no idea.
You asking the wrong person.
I do think it is super interesting, but yeah, that's Kirby's Toy Box. Definitely the most interesting one I found information about for this podcast.
They're just super interesting. Didn't know that existed, but I guess that makes sense because it wasn't over here.
The Satellaview. Alright, so back to the mainline side of things, we have Kirby Superstar, yet another Super Nintendo game. This is a pretty big one. Have you ever played Kirby Superstar?
No.
I had never played it, but I did play it a little bit for the podcast. It's on the Nintendo Switch Online. This game was developed by HAL. Sakurai was the director, and Miyamoto and Iwata were producers. Iwata actually had very little to do with this game, I read. The prototype was created for the NES as they were developing this game, which is really interesting to me that Sakurai said that this was done so that they could try out different ideas before putting them in the final game. I don't really understand why they would make it for the NES. Maybe it was faster to develop on the NES? I have no clue.
Yep. No, I don't know.
So yeah, there was an internal prototype. I wonder if someone has if a collector has acquired that or something, or if it's deep in the Nintendo vault somewhere.
Oh, it's definitely hidden forever.
Miyamoto had requested that this game have two-player co-op. That was something he had been wanting to do for many years on. I think it was on Mario. He really wanted to make it happen. But Sakurai came up with the helper system, where one person would play as Kirby and the other plays as an unnamed teammate that can be created when Kirby sucks in an enemy. That should sound very reminiscent if you have played Star Allies. There's a very similar thing in that game.
Mm-hmm.
The power the teammate has is based on which enemy Kirby sucks in. Development took 3 years, longer than most games of that time, and it ended up being another late release just 3 months before the N64 came out.
Ouch.
So, this was... The box art says that it has 8 games included, but it's actually 9. They are Spring Breeze, Dynablade, Gourmet Race, The Revenge of Meta Knight, The Great Cave Offensive, Milky Way Wishes, The Arena, and then 2 sub-games. I'm going to talk a little bit about each one of them real quick. Spring Breeze is a remake of Kirby's Dreamland. The suck ability was added, and some levels were merged, some boss fights were removed. But yeah, this specific game on this cartridge was designed for beginners. I had no idea that this game had this is a really weird compilation cartridge, but it ended up being one of the most popular Super Nintendo games. Like I said, I never played it until a couple days ago preparing for this episode, but it's actually pretty cool. Yeah, it's like you see 9 games or you see 8 games included on the box art, and you're like, oh, so it's just a mini game compilation. I can pass on that, but it has full games inside of it along with mini games, which I just think is really interesting.
I had no idea.
Dynablade is Kirby stopping a giant bird from destroying the crops of Dreamland. Gotta save those crops. Gourmet Race is Kirby racing King DDD and eating as much food as possible. Both being fastest and eating earns you points, and most points at the end wins. This one was kind of lame. I mean, I saw where Air Ride got its formula, but I guess we'll talk about that one later. But yeah, just sprinting to the end and trying to eat as much food as possible to see who wins.
Are you bad-mouthing Air Ride right now?
I'm not sure what I'm doing right now, but we know I'm a fan of Air Ride now, so...
Yeah, you are.
The Revenge of Meta Knight was a story mode 2D platformer where Kirby is chasing down Meta Knight, trying to defeat him. He's trying to take over Dreamland because, well, let's face it, that's what villains do. The Great Cave Offensive, does that name ring a bell to you?
The what?
The Great Cave Offensive.
No.
It sounds like a weird bad translation to me, but I recognized it because that's a map in the Smash games. And yeah, I had no idea where it came from, but it is this is a literal Kirby Metroidvania. I started playing this one and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I had no idea this existed." It's a Metroidvania where you run around collecting treasure, and you have to collect all the treasure to beat this one, and there's a lot of references to other Nintendo franchises throughout the game. I think Captain Falcon's helmet appears or something. Pretty cool. Milky Way Wishes, another story mode game. There's no suck ability here. Instead, you collect powers that you can change.
Suck ability.
I know, I'm gonna call it that a lot. Instead, you collect powers that you can change to at any time, kind of like Mega Man vibes. And then, apparently this is the biggest mode in the game. The arena is just a boss rush. Gotta have a good boss rush in your compilation games. And then 2 sub-games, like I mentioned. There's Megaton Punch, which is basically just try to crack the earth harder than your opponent by mashing the A button at the right time. Pretty lame. About 30 seconds to finish that one. And then Samurai Kirby. I didn't even play this one. It's just a timing game. Pretty simple, pretty basic. But yeah, in order to beat this game, you have to beat all of them, all the games on this cartridge. It was regarded as one of the best Kirby games to date, and it is a runner-up for EGM's side-scrolling game of the year, or it was back in what did I say? 1990. Did not write the year down. Attaboy. It was 96 because it was 3 months before the N64. Yeah, so it is available on Nintendo Switch Online if you're interested by anything I just said. I can't imagine anyone out there is not interested by a Kirby Metroidvania.
I did not know any of those things. And I will definitely be playing on an NSO, so thank you.
Heck yeah.
Alright, so next we have Kirby Star Stacker. I will give you an attaboy if you can tell me what the genre of this game is. Go.
It's gotta be a match 3.
What the heck is that?
Like any Bejeweled or any game that's like Tetris. No, it's not Tetris.
Okay, I'll take that. It's a puzzle game. All I needed was puzzle game. It was developed by HAL Laboratory, surprise, surprise, published by Nintendo. It was released in 1999 for all regions for the Game Boy. There is also a remake of the game for the Super Famicom in Japan, which we'll talk about later. It's got the exact same release title, yes. It is also re-released on the 3DS Virtual Console in 2012 and 2011. Wrong, 2012 and 2013. It seems like a pretty standard puzzle game, honestly. It's very similar to like a Puyo Puyo or like a Dr. Mario. It's very straightforward. At the beginning of the round, your field, you have various blocks. So the blocks start there when you start the game. Some of them will be stars, and other blocks have like the little friend icon. So one's like Hamtaro, Wreck the Hamster. One of them's going to be like a fish guy. All like the different sprites of the allies that you know are very familiar with now. The goal is to collect as many of the stars in the field as possible by sandwiching them between like matching friend blocks. Basically, how I kind of can explain it, if that didn't make any sense to you, is like just imagine that the stars are just like wild cards or wild tiles, right? If you put a hamster to the left and a hamster to the right, and you sandwich them in, they disappear because they're the same, and you get those stars. You collect those stars, if that makes sense. There are 4 modes in the game. There's round clear, versus, challenge, and time attack, which seems pretty straightforward. Of all the games in the Kirby series, this game has the longest full game speed run of 4 hours, 17 minutes, and 37.31 seconds as of April 22nd, 2017. I can't read numbers, apparently.
The longest speed run? Like, no one can beat it faster than that?
Than 4 hours.
That's funny.
That's a pretty long time.
Yeah.
That's for someone who's good at it. So yeah. The next we have the third Dreamland game, so Kirby Stream M3. It's a platformer developed by HAL Labs, published by Nintendo for the SNES. Came out in the US first in November of 1997. Dang. And then Japan got it in March of the next year. Was not released in Europe until 2009 when it released on the Wii U, or on the Wii Virtual Console, which is interesting. Don't know why Europe got snubbed.
Very strange.
Released again in 2013 on the Wii U Virtual Console, and then it's on NSO as of 2019. So there's a bunch of different ways to play it. Well, I mean, I guess not for long when the Wii U Virtual Console shuts down, but that's fine. It's the 5th main installment in the Kirby series, but it's the 3rd installment of the Dreamland saga. Obviously denoted by the 3. It's a traditional Kirby game where Kirby adventures across the land, inhaling enemies and using copy abilities. Again, with his animal companions, Rick the hamster, Ku the owl thing, and Kine the fish, the ocean fish. The main difference in this title to the other titles is the art style. So Dreamland 3 has like a pastel, like hand-drawn crayon aesthetic, which people have really praised because it's something different. It's not just the same. The game surprisingly doesn't have a very good score on Metacritic, but I think back then games were judged slightly differently. It's got a 66.25, which doesn't seem very high, but that seems to be like a lot of good games back then have that kind of score.
Really?
I noticed. Anyway, the game certainly has a cult following because they love the graphics, the art style, the soundtrack, and the final battle. Which they said is considered to be like unusually graphic for Kirby standards, but I didn't find it like super graphic. I don't know what they were going for there. Maybe because the enemy like bleeds, kind of. I don't know. It's criticized for being too easy, which is a theme you'll see with literally every single Kirby game on this list.
I have played this one, and I feel like it was exceptionally easy.
Like Kirby Star Allies easy or easier?
Nah, easier than that.
Easier than that?
It was a cakewalk. It probably, I mean, I haven't played a lot of Kirby's. That was stupid easy.
Dang. Well, have anything nice to say about it?
It's gorgeous to look at.
Okay, there we go. See? So I guess it was, well, anyway, it oozes with Kirby personality, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Some fun facts about it. It was the last first-party game released for the SNES in North America, which is sad. It symboled the end of the console, because then the N64 came. It's the last of various things. It's the last Kirby game in North America to be released in the 90s, which is an interesting distinction. It's the last entry in the Dreamland trilogy. It's the last Kirby game to depict Kirby with whiskers. He no longer has any whiskers.
What year did you say?
This is 1997.
Wow, so 1 year after the N64 came out.
So he's been whiskerless for 24 years now. He's just got those like cute little cheek blushes. I don't know what you call that. Pinkish red cheeks. And like I said earlier, it's the last Kirby game to be released for the SNES. This is actually pretty interesting. I did not know this until looking this up. Characters from 4 published Nintendo games also appear in this game as like cute little cameos. You got like the Rob Robot guy from Gyromite.
Oh.
And an unhelmeted Samus from Metroid.
What?
Yeah, she's got the blonde hair and all.
Oh my gosh, I have to look that up.
See, and then I think a Metroid, like a tiny little Metroid, also makes an appearance. And then 2 other characters from 2 other like Japanese exclusive games that were published by Nintendo, but I didn't write them down because I didn't know what they were. Fun fact about the box, though, the back of the North American box misspells latest to lates. They omit that T there, and it mislabels King DDD as Kind DDD. So they used a D instead of a G, which I think is funny. He's no longer evil. He's kind. He's Kind DDD. And like most Kirby games that I looked up in the Dreamland Saga, has like a good ending and like a bad ending, which I elaborate further on one of these other ones. But a bad ending is like it's not bad, but it's just like not the true ending. Yeah. Like if you don't like get all a certain collectibles or do something in the game. The good ending is if you get all the collectibles and it shows you an alternate ending. But I don't want to spoil anything because that's pretty exciting. I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's only been out for 30 years. You should probably keep that spoiler to yourself.
Well, you know what? I didn't want to spoil it for myself, okay? Because I might go back and play these. That's the real reason. Okay, and then the next one is a very, very short one for me. It's Kirby Superstar Stacker. Can I get you to guess what the genre is?
Are you looking for a puzzle?
That's it! Woohoo! So it's a remake of Star Stacker for the Super Famicom, which I mentioned earlier. It's a Japan-only title for the Nintendo Power Flash RAM service in 1998 and for the Super Famicom in 1999.
That is so late for Super Nintendo.
Yep. It's weird. And then, still my turn, right? Yeah, it's still my turn. My last one for this one is Kirby 64 and the Crystal Shards. Now, I have actually played this one, and I love it. So it's a good old-fashioned 2D platformer with 3D graphics, but obviously the game is played in 2D. It's not quite 3D, but it's like that quasi-3D. So basically the rest of the game is 2D except for the final boss, which is basically like a shoot-'em-up style boss fight, which I'll explain later. This is the 4th installment in the Dreamland saga after Dreamland 3 came out in 2000 in some parts of the world, in 2001 in other parts. Was released on the Wii U Virtual Console in 2008 and the Wii Virtual Console in 2008 and the Wii U Virtual Console in 2015.
Did you grow up with this game?
What?
Did you grow up with this game?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
this was like the first actual Kirby game that wasn't a spin-off that I think I played.
Gotcha.
But I played it on the Dream Collection that came out on the Wii. That's the first time I ever played it.
Gotcha.
I don't even own it on the N64, actually.
Me
Okay,
either.
anyway. So when my experience with this game, I played it. I don't remember beating it, I don't think. But I got pretty darn far in it. It's one thing I noticed when playing the game is that Kirby still has like his inhale ability, but he doesn't like wear the cute little hats that everyone knows him for. Instead, he just kind of like turns into whatever he sucks up. So like when he absorbs the fire ability, he doesn't wear like a cute fiery like little headband hat. He instead like becomes a fireball himself and kind of like projectile like rockets himself forward. Which is something that's different. The only way I can explain the world is it's very, very similar to Yoshi 64. It's got those like very vibrant, very detailed backgrounds.
Yeah.
Of especially of that time. And Kirby himself can also like puff hover like thing, float in the air a certain amount of time before he like falls back down, which is something that is not retained in like any other games. Like I'm pretty sure you can puff indefinitely. You can't. I mean, at least you can in Forgotten Land. And it's very similar to how, like, in Smash Bros. 64, you know, you can only, like, hover for, like, a such amount of time. So I think what people were thinking is it's due to, like, the limitations of the Nintendo 64, but I don't know what limitations specifically. But I thought that was interesting. It's very different than what we have now. And then some fun facts. There are technically 2 final bosses in the game. Like I said earlier, there's, like, a good ending and, like, a bad ending. Or just, like, a good ending and then, like, a super good true ending. Because I don't like a bad ending thing. Miracle Matter is the final boss of the game if the player doesn't collect all of the crystal shards. But if the player does, they encounter an enemy called 02, who's like super creepy. It's like a big, like, fleshy floating eyeball with like wings, but they're not like bird wings. They're like, have you ever seen like those Gundam like mechs? They have like the it's kind of like wings like that. That's the only way I can explain it. At the end of the final boss, or the true final boss, Kirby is then kissed on the cheek by Ribbon, which is the cute, like, strawberry shortcake-looking fairy. This is the first game that hints at Kirby's love interests, which is how cute. This is one of the few Nintendo 64 titles in the Wii U's Virtual Console to be compatible with holding the Wii Remote sideways. The Dream Collection Special Edition on the Wii also allows this, which is how I played it. This is the first game where DDD appears as an ally to Kirby.
I can't believe that you have an entire N64 controller with 3 handles, and it can be dumbed down to the sideways Wii remote.
Yeah, it's that simple. Well, because when I don't know, I'm sure you can use the D-pad instead of like the analog stick on Nintendo 64, so it's basically like the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. Interesting fact. So I actually played that one. That's one of the ones that I have played.
Nice. I have not played it. I definitely need to now that I have the Wii compilation. Would you say that one is pretty easy?
Yeah, for sure.
Of course. Okay, this next one, pretty cool in my opinion. It is Kirby Tilt and Tumble. I think this is cool because anytime... Well, let me not get ahead of myself. This was developed by HAL, and this time it was Nintendo R&D 2 that helped them out. The game originally featured a monkey as the main character until Miyamoto was like, hey, you know what? That should be a Kirby game. Classic Miyamoto. Released in 2000 for the Game Boy Color. It's got a beautiful pink cartridge, transparent pink Game Boy Color shell. It is described by Wikipedia as an action puzzle game. The game uses accelerometers built into the Game Boy Color cartridge to move Kirby. So that's what I mean when I say like these types of games always intrigue me. There's like Yoshi Topsy Turvy on the Game Boy Advance. There's just like anytime you have to move the entire console in your hand, I think it's like a really fun idea that developers go for sometimes.
Very interactive.
Yeah, I don't have this one. I would like to play it someday, but a sudden jerk of the console will fling Kirby into the air. Obviously, left and right is tilting left and right. You go around collecting stars in each level. beat the game by collecting each level's red star. Honestly, I was watching some gameplay. It looks like a pretty fun game to me. It is the 6th best-selling Game Boy Color game in Japan, which I think is quite the record there.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I mean, think about what was on the Game Boy Color, like 3 Pokemon games for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland is the next one. Oh, and I forgot to say, Tilt and Tumble, pretty positive reviews overall, mostly 8 out of 10s. I was surprised and kind of noticed that most of the Kirby games, at least on my half of the list here, were 8 out of 10s. There were several games that I expected to have really low scores and just 8 out of 10. But
you know, nothing against Kirby games, but 8 out of 10 seems like that's where Kirby just falls.
Yeah.
It's an 8 out of 10 game. Yeah. It's an 8 out of 10 series. Which is a great score, by the way. I'm not bashing.
Yeah, it really is. Alright. Nightmare in Dreamland. This is our first Game Boy Advance game on the list. Moving on up into the... Well, I guess the last one was the 21st century as well. But anyways, moving on to GBA. This game was developed by HAL, released in 2002. I think this is actually the first Kirby game that I played personally. It is a remake of Kirby's Adventure. The NES game. And it's obviously, you can go back to our remake, ports, and remasters episode to understand what the heck a remake is, because it took us some serious research because it's super confusing. But anyways, added multiplayer and enhanced graphics. The graphics and sound were redone from scratch. Meta Nightmare mode was added where you can actually play through the game as Meta Knight. I don't remember that when I played it, but that's pretty freaking cool. Next Generation ranked the game as the 17th best handheld game of the 2000s. Heck of a record there. And reviews were similar to Kirby's Adventure. It's just a fun game, but too short and too easy, which is exactly how I would have described it as well.
Next is the best Kirby game I've ever played that has ever existed. Can you guess what it is?
I have the list right in front of me. It might be Kirby Air Ride.
Oh, don't spoil it. But yeah, that's right. So technically it's defined as a racing game, but I think we can agree there's a little bit more to it than that. It came out in 2003 in Japan, in US, and everywhere else in 2004. Developed by HAL Laboratory and published by Nintendo. There are 3 modes, which I guess they're all racing, but I don't know. City Trial just shines. So there's Air Ride, which is your typical racing game, Mario Kart style. You inhale enemies, which give you advantage on the course, and you race to the finish, right? Then there's Top Ride, which is a tabletop racer, which is a tabletop racer. It's a very mini track, and it's very arcade style. Then there's City Trial, which is basically you just race around the city. There's no kind of track or anything. It's just kind of like free racing. And you collect items and cool abilities to make your cart better and give you advantages in the mini game that comes after. And there are also a variety of different carts that you can ride. There's a wing cart, there's an ice cream truck cart, there's a star cart, there's a bunch of carts. There's also, which I think is the big main thing in the whole game, there's 3 different checklists, which is just a giant, it's just a checklist, a giant checklist of things that you have to do, and you unlock different things. And some of the things you can unlock. Some of the things you can unlock are different colored Kirbys. I think there's a green Kirby, a black Kirby, a white Kirby. There might be a brown Kirby. But yeah, that's super a lot of fun. It's basically why you keep playing it over and over and over and over again. And in a category here in my notes, I have experiences with, and under it just says, dude, I love this game. Need I say more? You've already heard me talk about it a gajillion times, but you should definitely play it, even though it's so freaking expensive on the GameCube right now.
363 GameCube games, and that is not one of them yet. But if you lived in Texas, we would totally be playing through that together.
Oh, see, it's super fun. I can't wait till Nintendo adds GameCube games to NSO. So, fun facts about the game. All versions of the game have the same vehicles, but the carts in the Japanese version are faster than all the other regions.
Whoa.
Why? Why could we get faster carts?
We couldn't handle that.
Yeah, you can't handle. Need for Speed, we don't got it. This is the last Kirby game that Sakurai worked on as part of HAL Laboratory. After Air Ride's release, he formed his own company, which he still works for today, is Sora Limited, which made Smash Brothers. Air Ride is among the 5 Kirby games to never be released as a permanent digital download. The others are Kirby Tilt and Tumble, Kirby Slide, Kirby Superstar Ultra, and Kirby's Dream Collection Special Edition. Fun fact. As far as reception goes, I know I like it, I know you like it. It sold 422,000 copies in Japan, 750,000 copies in the US. It received mixed reviews, with many websites applauding its clean presentation and originality, but also criticizing its simplicity. Which, I mean, are racing games notoriously difficult? Because I don't think so.
Nope. I do wish it had a story, though.
Yeah. I could see, yeah, kind of like an adventure mode kind of racing game. Yeah, I could see that. That'd have been fun. It has a score of 65 on Game Rankings, which I guess is just another website. Apparently, a lot of people noted how similar it was to F-Zero GX and Double Dash at the time, which were also on the GameCube, so I guess a lot of people just looked over it, looked past it. It was a throwaway title, but it's not. They're all wrong. Next, which rhymes with Kirby Air Ride, it's Kirby Slide, which I didn't know existed either. Do you know the genre of this one? Go.
I don't know the genre. Is it not a racing game?
It's not a racing game, but I could see why you'd think that. No, it's a sliding puzzle game. It actually is only available on the e-reader peripheral for the Game Boy Advance.
Oh.
Did you know that? So if you didn't know, the e-reader was a little attachment that can be inserted into the cartridge slot of the Game Boy Advance. It's basically it looks like a credit card attachment. You swipe a credit card.
Yeah.
But they're just normal old cards. You swipe them. There's an Animal Crossing card. There's a Pokemon Battle Arena card, and I guess you could buy these cards separately, or they came as promotional magazines, probably Nintendo Power or something like that. And when they were swiped, the cards allowed you to access certain items or certain Pokemon battles. The Kirby one specifically, once you swipe it, it brings up a sliding puzzle, which is it's got the 9 tiles and there's one spot missing, and there's a picture you have to create, and you have to move the tiles around. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
But you can only move one, and you gotta move it. It's like that. And once you complete it, it gives you a congratulations message because you completed the puzzle. It was only released in the US in 2003, distributed through Toys R Us in issues of Nintendo Power, in a magazine called Tips and Tricks, to promote the anime, the English dub of the Kirby anime called Kirby Right Back At Ya.
Hannah, I actually have a VHS of that I found at Goodwill years ago.
Nuh-uh.
I'm so serious.
Is it one episode, or is it...
I forget. I think it's got a few episodes.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool. Yeah, most people don't even know that the anime exists.
I did know that the anime existed only because there's a GIF that me and my cousins like to share. It's where Kirby inhales all the food off the table and flies into his mouth. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
For sure.
That's why I know it exists. But yeah,
all right, is that what you got for Kirby Slide?
Yep. That's it.
That's super cool. I have never used an e-reader, but every time I find information about it, it's just so interesting to me. I have so many Pokemon cards that have that e-reader swipe thing on the side. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I don't even know how you could incorporate them or what they did in game.
Well, some of them allow you to battle certain Pokemons, but I don't know what they all do.
There's hundreds of them out there. I don't know what they all do, but yeah.
That's cool. You should get one, and then tell everyone else what it does.
Instead of Googling it, you should buy one and swipe them all.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotta swipe them all, man. Come on.
I have two I have two, I guess you could call them mainline Kirby titles. Not sure about the second one. But Kirby and the Amazing Mirror is up next for Game Boy Advance, developed collaboratively with HAL Labs, Dimps, and Flagship. which was actually a subsidiary company of Capcom at the time. This game, out of all the games I have looked at, is the one that seems the most interesting to me. I had no idea what it was like, but yeah, let's get into it. So Dims was in charge of programming, sound, and design. Wikipedia says Flagship was in charge of the main planning, which I have no idea what that means. And Hal provided the artwork and debugging for the game. Came out in 2004. And it is a maze and like Metroidvania style game. And the cover art is epic. I freaking love that early 2000s box art style. It is so nice. The game can be traversed any way you please, earning power-ups to access new areas as you progress, which pretty much sums up Metroidvania in a nutshell. There are rest areas to save. Collectibles can be found around the game's world. There are multiple new copy abilities, which I think you will see a lot going forward for the rest of these Kirby games. Cupid, you can fly around with wings and shoot flaming arrows. I'm not sure why Kirby needed wings. There is Missile, which turns Kirby into a guided missile, and Smash, which gives Kirby his Super Smash Bros. Abilities to slam down. You would think it was the other way around, but yeah, he actually got Smash power-ups in the Kirby game. I think that's funny.
It is funny.
Features 4-player co-op. You can call in friends with a GBA link cable, or you can call in CPUs to help you. You only need one cartridge with 4 Game Boy Advances to play multiplayer, which is pretty freaking cool.
That's nice.
I know they did that a lot, like the DS download play stuff. But yeah, it's very cool that you could do that on GBA as well. There are also 3 mini games you can play with friends. The game sold 600,000 copies in the US. I would say that is pretty solid. Received a lot of 8 out of the 10s. And yeah, it was added to the Wii U Virtual Console in 2014. So you guys got 1 year left.
Get it now.
I might actually buy that because... on Wii U because that game is pretty darn expensive, and I really only collect GBA Complete now. That is a very expensive complete in box game, so it might be a while before I have the physical cartridge. So I think the Wii U Virtual Console is a solid alternative for now.
Yep, there's nothing wrong with that. I've played several games on the Virtual Console.
Yeah, definitely. That was how I first played Super Metroid back before the Switch came out.
There you go.
Alright, next one is Kirby Canvas Curse. This is a game that I really thought had really awful reviews, but it didn't.
Was it 8 out of 10?
I'll tell you later, Hannah. This was developed by HAL, released in 2005 for the Nintendo DS, first DS game on the list. Kirby rolls around in ball form while you draw paths for him with the touchscreen. You can either poke him to make him speed up or just draw a ramp under him that will automatically propel him. You tap on enemies to stun them and then have Kirby either roll over them to kill them or I forget what the other option is. I didn't write it down, I guess. But yeah, you can do one thing to kill them and another thing to gain their ability if you want. And yeah, I always thought this had a bad rap, but it received mostly 9s, Hannah.
9s?
So last night I was texting you saying these games are expensive. What the heck? Is it because of the Kirby hype? This is one of the ones I was talking about. I figured this was a $10 game and it's freaking $40. So kind of annoying.
Wow.
It literally.
Dude,
go ahead.
I looked at some of the games and I swear less than a year ago they were so cheap. I don't know if it's the pandemic effect or the Kirby Forgotten Land effect or whatnot, but Kirby games are expensive.
Yeah, I'm sick of it. Yeah, this just honestly seems like a basic iPhone game, but now I really want to try it, seeing that it has mostly 9s.
Hey, guess what? I have it.
Oh. You know what I was thinking about? I think I gave you a case and manual for a DS Kirby you needed, right?
You did give me one, but I can't remember what it is. I could probably pull it out.
It's on my list.
I think... Oh, really?
I think it's on my list, yeah. I actually went to go
Sorry.
look in my box of cases and manuals last night, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe I can save some money and just buy the cartridge. And then I was like, oh, I gave that away, didn't I?
Well, you can have it back if you want.
Shut up, Hannah. Alright, you're up.
My turn? Okay, this is another game on the DS. It's called Kirby Squeak Squad.
I love the
Such
name.
fun names. So I think this is called Squeak Squad because, like, the main... I don't want to set up the story too much here, but I'm pretty sure that the story is a bunch of mice steals, like, a shortcake recipe from Kirby, and that's, like, the story of the game. He's got to, like, get the recipe back from mice. Squeak Squad. So it's a platformer for the Nintendo DS, like I said, developed by HAL Laboratory and Flagship, again, which I wrote a big write-up about, but it's a subsidiary of Capcom. In 2007, Capcom announced that they would close that studio, I guess, and they merged with Capcom's main studios. So interesting.
Oh, nice. I'm glad you looked that up.
I did. I took the time to look it up. Released in 2006 and 2007 and re-released on the Wii U Virtual Console in 2015. It's a classic Kirby 2D game, and it returned to like the classic formula after Canvas Curse, which you said is very different. Compatibilities and all. Classic Kirby. This game also has mix abilities, where the player can mix two of Kirby's abilities together by using the stylus to drag one on top of the other, and if they're compatible, like to two combined. So examples are Fire Sword, which is the fire ability plus the sword ability. There's also Ice Bomb, Ice Sword, Thunder Bomb, Thunder Sword. That's super cool. Reception, the game received less positive reviews than Amazing Mirror, but they were still overall positive, with Nintendo Power giving it a 7.5 out of 10, so not quite 8. The main criticism of the game was a lack of originality compared to the previous Kirby DS titles. Specifically, they didn't like the removal of some of the features that were in Amazing Mirror, which would be like the map system. Other criticisms were for the weak sub-games and the unnecessary use of the touchscreen, which I haven't played it, so I wouldn't know, but, like, I like it when they include, like, things on the touchscreen.
Yeah.
I just think it utilizes the system a lot more, so I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what the unnecessary part of it was, but I think I would appreciate that they used the touchscreen. But despite that, it was still able to sell 1.7 million copies, with 1 million being sold in Japan alone. Fun facts, this is the first Kirby game to be officially released in South Korea. This is the only traditional Kirby platformer where Kirby does not fight Wispy Winds, the big sad tree, or any of his other alter egos. He's got, like, different, like, I think he's got, like, a fire tree. I don't know. I'm not sure. I didn't look that part up. But an exclusive, this is cool. You would appreciate this. An exclusive Polar White DS Lite, marked with, like, a black and white Kirby holding a treasure chest, was released in Australia shortly after release of the game. Only 40 of these DS Lites were given away by an Australian magazine.
40?
40. 40.
Oh, I am so intrigued. That's awesome.
See, I told you would be. So, how many still exist? Probably like
4.
This is the only game where King DDD appears as the first boss.
Interesting. He's a weakling.
Yep. He is a weakling. Okay, this one is very fun. Do you know what kind of game Kirby of the Stars Magical Tower of Metal Land is?
Why do you keep asking me this?
Because it's fun.
Oh, is it puzzle?
Wrong. It's an arcade machine.
Oh my gosh, what?
Yeah,
you're right.
It's an arcade
machine.
Fun. It was released in 2007, only in Japan. And actually, I looked at, like, a lot of this information came from, like, the Kirby Wiki, like the fandom Kirby Wiki.
Oh, yeah.
And it said not a lot of things were known about this game. So I did a deep dive, okay, and I used my degree in Japanese. And I went on, like, a Japanese video site, and there was actually a video of someone playing the actual Kirby machine. And I didn't sit there and translate all of it because that would take me a really long time. But from what I saw and what I could understand of the video, it's basically just like a coin pusher game, which is like you put the coin in and there's like a whole like little tray of coins there that pushes it and you get the coins that fall down. But it's a little more intricate than that. It's a huge machine, and when I say huge, I mean like huge. There's 4 different sides, so it's like a square, and there's 4 different places for you to play. But anyway, Kirby, there's a giant statue of Kirby in the middle, and he's got like a little wand thing. And so the basic gameplay is, I couldn't quite see the whole machine because it's like pretty much close up. So I don't know if you put the coin in and then it activates it, or if it's just like one of those things where you like swipe a card. I know it came out in 2007, but I'm sure that it has been upgraded since then, like all arcade machines have, like with the card thing, because it was a pretty modern video. Anyway, there's 3 slot machines in the middle, pretty standard slot machines, and I think you put the coin in and then it activates it, but there's like pictures of King DDD, pictures of Kirby, pictures of Hamtaro, and all that, and it spins, and it's obviously like, you know, on some slot machines you're like, oh, it could be like, you know, it could be random, it could be whatever. It doesn't seem like it's random. It's like there's an interactive thing where if it's like you get 1 Meta Knight on the left and 1 Meta Knight on the right and the middle, it'll like purposely go in the middle between 2 pictures, and then the game will like shake, and it'll shake until the Meta Knight moves up. So it's like really interactive in that way.
Very interesting. Yep,
and if you get 3 all across, if you get 3 of the same, there's like a ring around the slot machine, and then it spins. Doesn't actually spin, but like the light goes around, and there's like different coin amounts. There's like 10 coins, 20 coins, 50 coins, and that's how many coins like fall into the coin pusher thing. And then there's also another part of it. I told you it's very intricate. It's like the ball drop game where the ball goes up and then it drops, and like whatever hole it like bounces into is what you get. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
It's like a giant bouncy ball. And whatever hole it bounces into is whatever prize you get. But I don't know, 1, why that was activated, or 2, like what happens after that's activated. But yeah, it's a very intricate machine.
Honestly, you're freaking amazing for doing all that research on that.
I was very interested because there's no information on it, and I was like, no, I bet there's information on there somewhere. But yeah, it was really cool. Super interactive. He's like, oh, good luck in Japanese, or he's like, oh, thank you for saving me, or like whatever, or like please try again, or like all in Japanese. It was super cool.
So it's not like, is there a screen? Is there anything digital about it?
No.
Okay.
There's not. It's 2007, man. Come on. No, I mean, even like that, even like the actual slot thing is like they're actually like on a cylinder thing and they turn.
I was just asking because I don't know if I'd call it an arcade game, but I know what you mean, like the Dave and Buster's type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But it's an arcade machine.
I guess.
It's a modern arcade machine, okay? It's not your pinball. It's not your... Whatever. Anyway, arcade machine, 2007. In Japan only. So next we have, I guess, is a mainline game. Well, no. Well, we'll see in a second. It's Kirby Superstar Ultra. It's a remake of the 1996 SNES Kirby Superstar game for the DS. Did you know that?
This is the one... Yes, I did. This is the one that I think I gave you the case for. Unrelated, but go ahead.
No, I'm pretty sure it was... You know, I don't know. I'll confirm that later. Actually, this released first in the US in September of 2008, and then in Japan in November of the same year. So we actually got something first. Ha! So, like I said, this is a remake of Kirby Superstar. Came out on the DS. This game includes the original game with updated graphics and cutscenes, a new storyline, and several new games, some of which can be played multiplayer. Most reviews gave the game a solid 8 out of 10. Most said the game was too easy and the level design wasn't quite as intricate as Mario games of the time. So they're comparing it to Mario games. Come on.
That's honestly how I compare it, though. Like, I just wish Star Allies would have been like New Super Mario Bros., where the 4-player is freaking awesome and I could have anybody come over and play it, and it's got at least a decent level of difficulty. But no.
You know what? We'll talk about Star Allies later because I got a lot to say. Fun facts: this game actually features a blooper reel that can be unlocked by the player. which is cool. I don't know what's on
Very
the blooper
cool.
reel. I didn't want to spoil it, but yeah. This game has the most boss fights out of all the Kirby games, because it has the original plus a few more. This is the first game since Crystal Shards to display a happy-looking Kirby on the North American box art, instead of, like, Fierce Kirby.
What a fun fact.
Yep, fun fact. Alright, you're up.
That's all you got? Alright. This is one I own. Our first Wii game on the list, Kirby's Epic Yarn, developed by Hal and Goodfeel, who you should know as the company behind the last two freaking awesome Yoshi titles. That would be Woolly World and Crafted World. This was actually their third game developed in conjunction with Nintendo after Wario Land Shake It Up on Wii and the DSiWare game called Luxley's Lineup. This was another case of a game being developed independently until Nintendo saw it and said, yep, let's make that a Kirby game. So,
Give me.
to create an authentic feel, this is a super cool fun fact. They actually took digital pictures of cloth and placed them under polygons to really like drive that freaking cloth authentic feel. Let me just say the exact same words again, but you get what I'm trying to say.
No, that's actually really cool.
Game was announced at E3 in 2010 and released later that year. So basically, typical 2D platformer Kirby game where you hold the Wii remote sideways. There are no suck abilities in this game. There's no stealing powers at all. So I don't know if it should necessarily have become a Kirby game, but whatever. Kirby's abilities change automatically depending on where he is. So if he's underwater, he's a submarine. If he's falling down, he's a parachute. If he's running, he's a car, things like that. And awesome. So Kirby is just like a piece of yarn in this game, which is typical Goodfeel developed games. They all look like this, and it's honestly such an awesome freaking design. I love to see it. I say all, but you know, it's this game and the two Yoshi games. I have no idea what else they have produced.
That's so interesting, because I always thought they were such similar games. But
right.
Of course. Because that makes sense.
What else we got here? Kirby's ability. Oh, I said that. Kirby's main attack is this yarn whip. And then Kirby has a fully customizable apartment. You heard that right. That can be customized with collectibles that you find in the game. Very interesting. And it also features co-op, so I'm definitely going to take advantage of that one day. I have not played this game yet, but after I saw the reviews, it got an 86% on Metacritic and received mostly 8s and 9s. This is like another one I assumed had bad reviews. I think someone got in my head with some Kirby games and told me they weren't good, but it looks like that person was wrong, and I've been missing out on some solid games because of that.
They're all liars. I have not come across a Kirby game that's been less than like a 7 or an 8.
Right.
Well, I mean, I guess the first ones are like 66, but like I said, the scoring was a little different back then.
The soundtrack was highly praised, earned multiple awards, and sold almost 2 million copies worldwide. Good job, Kirby.
That is impressive. That's impressive.
Kirby's
got some traction, man.
Yarn. Yeah.
All right, my up?
Yeah.
All right, next we have Kirby Mass Attack, which I think is the one that you gave me the case for, but not important. It's a platformer developed by HAL Labs, surprise, surprise, and published by Nintendo for the DS, which I did not realize that DS games were still coming out when the Wii was out, but I guess that makes sense. I don't know, maybe I got my timeline wrong here. Anyway, came out in 2011 for all regions, Japan first, then the US, was re-released on the Wii U Virtual Console in 2015 for Europe and Australia, and then in 2016 for the Japan and US. So we got it second. It's called Mass Attack because Kirby split up into 10 weaker versions of himself, and then he has to fight the enemy that way. So you actually get to control like 10 Kirbys or more at a time. Mm-hmm. Each Kirby looks like they have a cute like little different personality, kind of like the Seven Dwarfs. There's like fierce Kirby, and then there's like unsure Kirby, and then not sad Kirby, but just like, why am I here, Kirby? You know? So like I said, you're split into different Kirbys, different copies of yourself, but you're obviously weaker because, you know, your one Kirby split up into 10, so you're going to be like a tenth of the power of the real Kirby. So in the beginning of the game, Kirby's really easy to beat because he's so weak in all of it in his 10 split up states. This game is played exclusively with the stylus and the DS touchscreen, so that I just think is cool. The player's stylus acts as like a cursor, and all the Kirbys like follow that cursor around. It's kind of like Pikmin style, if you've ever played that.
I haven't.
You direct the Pikmin, and then you throw the Pikmin, and they go over where your cursor goes.
Mm-hmm.
The health mechanic in this game is also different than traditional Kirby games. Food doesn't heal Kirby anymore, but instead fills up a meter, and when that meter is full, another Kirby joins your party. You get to control that Kirby. Reception reviews for the game were positive, with people applauding its intricate use of the stylus and the touchscreen. The average reviewer's score was about like an 84%. The game sold 1.06 million copies in total, so still quite a few.
You said food doesn't kill Kirby. I think that was an error in the notes.
Yeah, food kills Kirby. Sorry, no, I meant food doesn't heal Kirby.
Oh,
well, it doesn't
maybe that's
kill
what
him
you
either.
said.
It doesn't kill him either, so I guess that's not wrong. But yeah, food doesn't heal Kirby like it does.
I have this game, and I want to play it.
I also have this game, and I also want to play it. If anything, this all this research just made me want to play Kirby like even more.
I know.
Especially the ones that I have. Okay, fun facts. To promote the launch of the game in the US, this is super cool. So, Nintendo made a snack truck called a Snurby. A Kirby Snack Attack truck. It was kind of like a frozen treat truck, and it traveled to San Francisco, New York, and Houston.
Dang.
So you could have gotten some frozen snacks from the Kirby Mass Attack snack truck. How cool is that, though?
That's freaking awesome.
And it traveled around on like interstate and stuff, and so many people saw it. Man, I'm so jealous. This is the second game after Dream Course, the golf game, that contains special anti-piracy safeguards if it detects that the game is fake.
I don't know how you found these facts. These are great.
Fun facts. Told you I did my research here. This game and Tilt and Tumble are the only games in the Kirby series where Kirby can be killed by drowning. So not only does food not kill him, but drowning does. And that's it.
Kirby Mass Attack. Yeah, we should play that game simultaneously. We should do that.
I agree, that would be fun. We should have done it in preparation for, but oh well.
Alright, this one is a big one. It is Kirby's Return to Dreamland, also on the Wii. Not also, but also because my last one was on the Wii. Anyways, developed by HAL Labs. It was being developed for 11 years after the release of Crystal Shards back in 2000. I read that 3 games were developed and scrapped in this time period. The first was set to release on GameCube, and gameplay was shown in 2005. 2D platformer in a 3D space. The next was an open world style game, and the third was a 2D platformer with a pop-up book art style, which makes me think of Yoshi's Story. The development team noted these scraps were largely due to a heavy focus on multiplayer, so they shifted to focus more on the single player. The game appeared and disappeared multiple times on Nintendo's upcoming release schedules several times. But when it finally did come out, it was a 2.5D platformer where you hold the Wii Remote sideways. The game features 3D models for the first time in the Kirby franchise instead of two-dimensional sprites. The game ended up having a really solid 4-player co-op, in my opinion. This is one I've played through, like, I think in the last year. This was a pretty sweet co-op game where you can have 3 people playing with you that are all Kirbys, just different colors, or you can have them choose between Waddle Dee, Meta Knight, or King Dedede. And those 3 characters all have set abilities, like Waddle Dee has a spear and so forth. Being Kirby allows you to use Kirby's copy ability as expected, or the suck ability. New super abilities are introduced in this game. They are temporary and like over the top, super powerful abilities used in just specific areas of the game. Pretty neat. It was like a little nice change of pace in the game. There are also new regular abilities. I have written down the water ability, the whip attack, and the leaf ability. And yeah, obviously the title is like an homage to the rest of like Nightmare in Dreamland, Kirby's Dreamland. It's a pretty cool little. I love the title. I think it's really cool. Kirby's Return to Dreamland, and I think it's gotta be. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say that. 77 on Metacritic. I think that's about what I would rank it as well. 1.31 million copies sold by the end of 2012. And yeah, my only complaints is, as always, it was just a little too easy. But I think it was a really good step in the right direction. It wasn't super easy like some other games, but there was never a time where I was like, man, I don't know, do I have to play this level more than once to beat it? I don't know.
So you're saying it's not like Elden Ring Kirby?
Very timely joke there.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Okay, this one I own. We've talked about this several times. It's Kirby's Dream Collection Special Edition.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's a mouthful, isn't it? So this is a collection of classic Kirby games for the 20th anniversary. It was released for the Wii in 2012, both in Japan and the US, nowhere else. Haha. It is speculated to not have been released in other regions because it was released so late in the Wii's life. So like, nah, it ain't worth it.
What year?
2012.
Oh, wow.
So the games included are Kirby's Dreamland. Hey, that one sounds familiar. Kirby's Adventure. That one also sounds familiar. Dreamland 2. Superstar, Dreamland 3, and Crystal Shards. So the whole Dreamland trilogy, Nintendo 64 game, Kirby's Adventure, and Superstar. There was also 13 unreleased challenge stages, which are just kind of like mini short levels, little mini games. Comes with a soundtrack and a 28-page celebration booklet. Now, I did not know this when I bought the collection from GameStop, and mine didn't have the booklet, which I was very upset about.
Oh.
But the box art is just beautiful.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice.
It's just got a bunch of different Kirbys, all the different iterations of Kirby. It's so cool. It's very pink, very colorful, and very bright. Probably one of my favorite covers arts of like any game that I own. There's also a Kirby's history section. This is pretty cool. In the game, which is like an interactive calendar taking you through like the entire history of Kirby, kind of like what we're doing now. And there's actually 3 episodes of the anime Kirby Right Back At You, which can be viewed through the Kirby history.
Oh my gosh.
And it was reviewed very well, which I don't know how you really review a collection. But anyway, it's got an 82, so I guess that's like an average of all the games. Fun facts, this collection is one of the only Kirby games that launched in the US below MSRP at $39.99 instead of the other game's MSRP, which is $49.99.
That's crazy.
Yep. This is the final Kirby game to come with a physical manual. Everything else here is digital. And along with Tilt and Tumble, this is one of the only Kirby games to release in North America, but not Europe. Suck it. Okay, the next one is Kirby Triple Deluxe. Developed by HAL Labs, published by Nintendo, came out in 2014 in Japan and the US. And it's a 3DS game, so we're moving on. No more DS, we're going to 3DS now. Gameplay, it's a 2.5D platformer where the characters are 2D in a 3D environment. We've talked about before. The game boasts 25 copy abilities with the powerful Hypernova copy ability, which was introduced in this game. This game is kind of like a spiritual successor to Return to Dreamland, which probably means you'd like it because the graphics and the physics are also used in this game. It has some of the same copy abilities and even uses several of the same soundtracks from Return to Dreamland, which the music is like Kirby music is so good, but a lot of it's reused in like some of the other games, or like remixed, or I mean like Zelda games or Mario games. It's all the same. But the music is just amazing. This game also uses 3D motion controls, so the player can tilt or move the 3DS, and it will manipulate Kirby in the game, which you would appreciate. So, for example, if Kirby were to fall, say, into, a puddle of water or a bowl of water, the player can tilt the 3DS and pour out the water from the bowl.
That's pretty
Which is super
sweet.
cool, super interactive. We'll talk about this later, but Kirby Fighters is a sub-game in this game, and that'll be important in a second. Reception reviews were pretty good for the game. Guess what I got?
8.
Yep, it's about an 80%, 8 out of 10. Critics praised the game for its unique controls and how they implemented the 3DS motion controls, the level design, and the music and the graphics were all great. But others said it was too easy. Wah wah. Fun facts. So this is super fun, and I hope you appreciate this. So, how they arrived at the title, I've been telling you, I guess, like, why all the titles are what they are, because I think it's super interesting. So how they arrived at the title for this game is interesting. This is a 3D Kirby game on the 3DS, right? Keep that in mind. This is also the 10th traditional Kirby game in the series. So combining those, you have the 3D from the 3DS, and then you have X, which is the Roman numeral for 10, right? So if you shorten that, it's DX, which is short for deluxe. And the 3 from the 3DX was converted to triple, because the number 3, 333. So they arrived at triple deluxe.
That's crazy. That's
cool. This is the first Kirby game to use gyroscope controls, such as I said, with the puddle of water, the bowl of water. This has the longest 100% speed run at 6 hours, 32 minutes, and 42 seconds on December 1st of 2018. Interesting, huh?
That is very cool. This is a game that I've been wanting to play ever since it launched, honestly. And it is still only like $20 brand new, so I need to grab that one soon.
You should. Before the prices skyrocket.
Kirby Triple Deluxe.
Triple Deluxe.
Did that one look fun to you?
They all look fun.
They all look fun, and they're all going to be so easy.
Yeah, it'll be like, you won't die at all. It'll just be like just like your speed running.
We are probably 75% through now. Maybe a little more. Anyways, my next two are super short ones. They are, as Hannah mentioned, Kirby Fighters Deluxe and DDD's Drum Dash Deluxe, which are both games that came from Triple Deluxe. So the actual title for these like standalone games are Kirby Fighters Deluxe Z and DDD's Drum Dash Deluxe Z.
Just say that name 3 times fast.
So Fighters is basically a mini game from Triple Deluxe. They got its own standalone game, basically a Super Smash Brothers, but for the Kirby universe. So I remember this coming out, and I was just like not super amused by it. DDD's Drum Dash is a rhythm game where King DDD jumps on drums and avoids enemies. It just didn't look like a super fun game. Nothing I needed to sprint and pick up before March of 2023 on the 3DS eShop. Digital only titles, and there was bonus content added. That's where the Z comes from. And there was actually more content if a save file for Triple Deluxe was found on the system. I always appreciate stuff like that.
That's cool.
Now on to a real Kirby game. This is a sequel to Canvas Curse on the Wii U. First and only Kirby Wii U game developed by HAL and released in 2015. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. I have this one as well. I feel like I have a lot of Kirby games I've never played. That's what I'm realizing tonight.
I feel like I also have this one. Wow. That's a shame. We should have played these. What's wrong with us?
Too many games. Okay, so it features an asymmetrical multiplayer kind of like many Wii U games. Like if you've ever played Rayman Legends, basically it just means one player uses the gamepad and has a completely different experience than players 2, 3, and 4 who are on Wii remotes holding the Wii remote sideways. But just like Canvas Curse, you're drawing paths to control, you're creating the paths in which Kirby or Kirby's are going to be walking on. I guess there's only one Kirby in this game because the other players have to play as Waddle Dee. The game was given a clay art style to stay in the arts and crafts theme of Canvas Curse. And check this out. The frame rate was kept low, so it appeared to be a claymation style. That is so cool to me. The game is gorgeous. The game looks amazing. It supports Kirby, Meta Knight, and DDD Super Smash Bros. Amiibo. And guess what? The reviews were mostly 7s and 8s.
Surprise.
There's not a lot to say here. There was nothing really groundbreaking for the franchise. Just an apparently solid entry in the series.
I'll accept that. Like an 8 out of 10, baby. Nothing wrong with that. Alright, I'm up.
With it. Let's do it.
It's Kirby Planet Robobot. Developed by HAL. Published by Nintendo. Released in Japan and South Korea in April of 2016, and the US and Europe in June of 2016. Traditional Kirby platformer with the same moves from Triple Deluxe. But in this game, Kirby can also climb grates. Like you know what I'm talking about, grates. Ding, 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 ding. Like kind of like fences. And carry some objects underwater. The main mechanic introduced in this game is the Robobot armor, which is just like a giant mech suit, exactly what it sounds like, which Kirby can acquire by defeating certain enemies or finding it in the stages themselves. He can use this to solve puzzles and explore secret areas in the levels. The armor isn't always needed to complete a level, which is nice. Kirby has different modes inside the Robobot armor too, like bomb mode, jet mode, and sword mode, which I think they're pretty self-explanatory there. There was a demo for the game, which when I read, I was like, that's awesome. But it was available through retailers, but there was also a demo released on the eShop in July of 2016, so I was like, does that mean like you go to the retailers and play the demo? I don't know. When I first read it, I was like, oh my god, they handed out like physical copies of demos, but that's obviously not the case. So I was like scouring the internet for like these demo cartridges, which was not the case. And I felt like an idiot when I was like, no, those don't exist. But anyway. So I didn't know this. This is just something that came up when I was researching it. But did you know that you can only open an eShop demo 30 times before they make you pay for it?
What? Oh, I did know that. There's a countdown.
I did not know that.
That's so funny.
That's kind of, I mean, I guess I get it, but like, it's just a demo. I mean, really? If someone liked it that much, obviously they're going to pay for it. Anyway, I digress. This game is compatible with Amiibo, which is nice. Love to see that Amiibo support. The player can scan an Amiibo and instantly obtain a copy ability. Sometimes it's random, sometimes it's not. Like if it's a Kirby Amiibo is scanned, it gives Kirby the UFO ability or a version of it. Other Amiibo can also be scanned. Like if you scan the Mario Amiibo, it gives you the fire ability. Isn't that cool?
Oh, that's very cool.
They thought of everything. It was received generally favorably. Reviews gave it like a 81, 82 out of 100, which no surprise. Although again, many critics complained about how easy it was. And some said that while it does add something new, it also feels incredibly similar to Triple Deluxe. Instead, it didn't really have like its own identity. But other people were like, nah, that's crap. Like you're literally Kirby in like a giant suit. How could that not be its own identity? So, despite all that, it still sold 1.3 million copies worldwide. On April 26th of 2016, the game was leaked online. This is the first Kirby game to be leaked online before any official release date. I'm pretty sure I remember this happening too.
I don't remember it happening.
Because I'm pretty sure it was all over Twitter. But, I don't know. This is the first game in the series to be bundled with an Amiibo, which we appreciate. This is the first game to show Meta Knight without his mask, which, spoiler alert, he's just like a dark blue Kirby with yellow eyes.
You immediately looked it up, didn't you?
Absolutely. Of course I did, because I've never seen him without his mask. But yeah, it's basically just a really dark blue Kirby. like a navy, like a dark navy blue Kirby with the yellow eyes. Kirby Planet Robobot, again with the title, was originally going to be named Kirby Hagane, which means steel in Japanese, before being changed to Kirby Planet Robot. The name was seen as too literal and was then changed to Kirby Robo Planet before being changed to finally Planet Robobot. Love all those names. This is the first Kirby game. No, this is the final Kirby game Iwata worked on before his passing. This is the first Kirby game to have its complete soundtrack released outside of Japan on iTunes and Amazon Music.
Wow, so he was president of Nintendo and still working on these games. Very cool.
Sure was. And next we have Team Kirby Clash Deluxe. These names, man. These freaking names. This is a sub-game from Planet Robobot with added features. It adds new quests and 80 types of gear. It's free to start, key word there, and can be played with 4 players cooperatively. It's an action RPG developed by HAL Laboratory exclusively on the 3DS eShop. It released in April of 2017 in the US, Japan, and Europe. So the gameplay is very similar to the sub-game in Planet Robobot. Up to 4 players fight bosses with modified copy abilities and earn experience points and medals based on their performance in the battle, so the better you do, the more you get. Story progression is different in this game, though, in order to fight bosses. This gets pretty ugly here. The player must unlock them with gem apples, which is like the in-game currency. So the free-to-start thing comes up here. Gem apples can be collected from the game, but they can also be purchased with real-life money. So yeah, it's one of those microtransactions. It really pushes you towards the microtransactions. Unfortunately, this is like a predecessor to Nintendo and their mobile games. There are different perks in the game based on the day the game is played, which I think is super cool. So Sunday, when purchasing gem apples, the player receives more than usual. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, the enemies drop like different kind of fragments. There's like fire, wind, and ice or something like that. Which I think is pretty cool. Reception, like I said, the biggest complaint is that the game really pushes you to buy the frickin' gem apples. And people didn't like that. They're like, hey, this kind of sucks. And it's like really unforgiving too. Like, I learned that if you don't beat a boss within like a certain amount of time, you can pay gem apples to expand the time. And if you all die, you can pay gem apples to get more lives. So it's like one of those. It's like very arcadey.
They probably learned their lesson with this one before making their apps.
I doubt it. Nintendo's they've still been pretty, they want their money. Money hungry in their mobile apps. Anyway, fun facts. This game is the first game to employ real-time weights in in-game purchases, similar to the mobile games. And like I said, with like the days of the week giving you special advantages. This was the first to release in North America the same day it was revealed. So it was like shadow dropped. That's all I got for that one. Then, another one, Kirby's Blowout Blast. Again, it's another sub-game from Kirby Planet Robobot. And the minigame was called 3D Rumble. But then they renamed it as Kirby's Blowout Blast. And it's actually quite different from the game, though. It was reborn as a side-scrolling 3D game instead of what it originally was. It's a battle-action Kirby game developed by HAL. Exclusive to the 3DS eShop, which is very common with these. It was only $7, though. It's only $6.99 MSRP. Came out in July of 2017 worldwide. Similar to the sub-game, the game controls Kirby as he defeats waves of enemies and traverses 3D environments. This game contains 6 levels with 4 stages each, totaling about 25 stages overall. All stages in each level must be completed at once in order to complete the level. So you can't, stop and go back. Reception, there seem to be mixed reviews. Critics liked the game and welcomed the fun little adventure, but also thought that a fully fleshed out version of the game would also have been nice. But it was only $7, so I don't know what you expect.
Right.
They also said that there was a good replayability. Made you want to keep coming back, but it was too short. Didn't say easy, though. No easy in here. Fun facts, it was the only expanded sub-game in the Kirby series that is not named after the sub-game it is based on.
That was kind of hard to follow.
Okay, I'll say that again. It's the only sub-game in the Kirby series, like expanded, like they took the game and made like a whole other game out of it from another game, that is not called the same name as it was as a sub-game.
So what was it called as a sub-game?
It was called...
Oh, Kirby Rumble or something? 3D Rumble?
Yeah, it was called Kirby 3D Rumble.
Gotcha.
As the sub-game in Kirby Planet Robobot, and then they renamed it to Kirby's Blow Up Blast as the standalone expanded version of the game.
I've at least heard of like Kirby Fighters Deluxe, but I have never heard of this one.
Yep, me either. You're up.
All right, Kirby Battle Royale announced in 2017 as part of Kirby's 25th anniversary celebration, kind of like how we've been doing this podcast for 25 years. This one released at the end of 2017. It was a top-down arena fighting game. The only thing I could think of to describe it or to compare it to for the listeners is Power Stone on Dreamcast. I just feel like top-down arena fighting games do not come out anymore, and I can't imagine this game was super successful. It was single-player. It had a single-player campaign along with co-op. It had 10 multiplayer battle modes that you could play local or online. The reviews were pretty weak, 5s and 6s. Like, honestly, it just looks like something that I could maybe enjoy for an hour if I had a few friends over and we were just kind of laughing and beating each other up, but the game would have to be on a console for that, and it's not. It's on 3DS, so it doesn't look like something I would personally enjoy. And then our favorite game to roast on this podcast, probably, it's Kirby Star Allies, the 16th mainline Kirby game. Developed by HAL, released in 2018. Alright, so it's a 2.5D platformer. It has a single-player campaign and a 4-player co-op. It has helpers, like I described earlier in another game, instead of other Kirbys. Why they didn't just make it like Return to Dreamland, I do not know. That really sad. Combining abilities was brought back for the first time since Squeak Squad.
Squeak Squad.
So this is like starting to get interesting. There were 3 free content updates that were added later. And I remember after the first one came out, I was like, yeah, I really want to go back to that game and try it out. I did spend $60 on it, so apparently they added a new layer of difficulty, and reviewers went back and actually started to praise the game a little bit. You and I think we need to go and revisit this game and give it another try now that it's probably worth close to $60.
Well, funny you should say that, because Kirby Star Allies is the only game I've ever lost, and I don't know how when I lost it.
That's so funny.
I have the case, but no game.
Marvel's ate it.
She could have eaten it, actually. No, I'm pretty sure I was taking a picture, as one does for Instagram, and then, I don't know, maybe I sneezed and it flew into the trash on accident. I have no idea. But it's gone. And Kirby Star Allies literally has never gone through like a serious price drop at all. It's still $60 at the store.
That's weird. Yeah, I guess you're gonna have to wait till you come to Texas, but yeah, there's new levels, new characters, a ton of new additions came to this game. Yeah, I really want to go revisit it. My reviews were averaging around a 7. My review is it wasn't memorable. It was really fun, but way too short and easy, and I remember the graphics being just gorgeous. By December of 2019, the game had sold nearly 3 million copies worldwide. A lot of people very disappointed.
Okay, well, can I say something real quick?
Oh, absolutely.
So I looked up like what others people's thoughts on it were, and so apparently I looked into like some forums and some Reddit pages. Okay, here. So I saw that Kirby fans say that it's a pretty decent game, and they're like, I don't understand why people hate Kirby Star Allies so bad or so much. Like, the Kirby fans all think it's just like a pretty okay game, but the non-Kirby fans thinks it's awful. And I was like, huh. That might be true, because I also thought it was awful.
Oh, you didn't go any deeper into Reddit than that?
Well, you can't go too deep into Reddit. I mean, let's be honest. But
That's
no, basically...
very true, though. That's, I definitely got to go revisit it, but... That would be a crazy podcast. Like, the game doesn't suck. We're sorry.
I mean,
we're sorry, Star Allies.
We've been crapping on it for how many episodes now?
25 years straight.
25 years.
My final game for the list before I hand it over to you is Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn, which I think is just a hilarious name for a direct port of Epic Yarn onto the 3DS.
Extra Epic.
Actually, it's not a direct port, but it is a port, and it was announced in September of 2018 at a Nintendo Direct. I remember thinking this was kind of a random announcement, but yeah. The Switch was already out at the time. I don't know. Just kind of a very late 3DS game. March of 2019 is when it finally came out. And it was the final Nintendo published game on the 3DS. They added new hats and abilities that could be accessed with Amiibo. And new abilities and modes were added to this port. And that's all I have to say about Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn.
And it came with a Poochie amiibo.
No.
That's Yoshi. See? I told you I get these confused in my mind.
The highest level of confidence with that one.
Oh, no.
I love it. Don't ask me to cut that.
Cut it out. We'll add it to the bloopers. You're right. Finally, after being so very confident in what I just said, we're gonna end off with Super Kirby Clash. Now, I called this one Slash like a gajillion times in my head while I was researching this, so if I say Slash, I mean Clash, okay? This is an upgraded and expanded version of Team Kirby Clash Deluxe, hence the super there. A free-to-start, again, action RPG in which 4 Kirbys with different abilities take on quests together. There's a single-player mode, an online mode, and a couch co-op mode. It's an action RPG developed by HAL Labs and Vanpool. Vanpool is a Japanese video game, music software, computer software, and toy developer. So they do it all over there.
Wow.
They worked on mini-games in Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, directed and scripted Paper Mario Sticker Star, and helped co-developed Chibi Robo Ziplash.
Oh boy, I heard that one was bad.
Yeah. Released in 2019 worldwide. So it looks like the major difference between this one and the other one, the non-upgraded and expanded version, is that there's now online play, levels are longer, and there are more bosses. Reception, people said this game was a little more forgiving than Clash Deluxe and didn't quite feel as like money hungry or like microtransaction driven, which I guess is good. They learned their lesson the first time. Fun facts, this is the first Kirby game to feature a lyrical song with vocals. So that's very nice. Somebody sings to you.
And never
it reached over 4
lyrics in a video game, to tell you the truth.
Yep, I agree.
Thinking about Monster Hunter Rise.
That song in Mario Odyssey with Pauline singing, that's like my jam.
Oh yeah,
I loved that song.
I can't lie about that. That was a great song.
That was such a good song. This is just off on a tangent. You can, and when you're playing Super Mario Odyssey, you can set the music to replay whatever you want as soon as you like unlocked it. I had that song in the background the entire time I played that game. That's how much I liked it. It's a banger. Another thing, it reached 4 million downloads in between September and December of 2019, making it the second best-selling game in the series behind Kirby's Dreamland. Which is fascinating, because I honestly don't think I ever heard of it in my life.
Super Kirby Clash?
Yep.
Oh, but it was free, right?
No, I think you had to pay for it. I think it was like $7 or something. Maybe it's $20. I don't know. One of these is $20. I don't know. Don't quote me on that one. I didn't write the price down. And finally, before we get to Kirby and the Forgotten Land, we have Kirby Fighters 2. So it's a battle action fighting game developed by HAL Labs and released worldwide in September of 2020 for the Nintendo Switch. I remember this game coming out or being announced in like a Nintendo Direct, and everyone's like, that's random. But anyway, it's a sequel to Kirby Fighters Deluxe, which is a standalone upgrade of the Kirby Triple Deluxe subgame Kirby Fighters. This game features more copy abilities, stages, and playable characters, and a new story mode and online player mode. It's a fighting game where Kirby uses his copy abilities and a buddy, like him in a buddy battle. The player can choose from 18 different copy abilities, and along with 5 other characters which can be added by raising the player's fighter rank. Fun facts, this game was leaked online by Nintendo's Play Nintendo microsite on September 22nd of 2020. Maybe this is the one that I thought leaked. The discovery was spread on Twitter before Nintendo actually removed the listing. Its demo was also data mined and leaked online on September 24th of 2020, which was nearly a month before the demo's release. So that sucks. Wah wah. This is the first Kirby game to be developed and released during the pandemic. The development team could not communicate with each other for obvious reasons, but the developers had previously worked on Super Kirby Clash together, so they were familiar with the process and no major issues arose, which I think is interesting. This is the first game where Meta Knight is both one of the main antagonists and a boss battle, and a final boss, and this was the first Kirby game to run at 60 frames per second on the Switch.
Oh wow!
Woohoo! And yep, that was our last one.
Did this one get a physical release?
No.
Okay.
It did not.
All right, folks, are we ready to talk about Forgotten Land?
Woohoo! I am.
I am very excited. Talk to me about how much of this game have you played so far?
I am just past like the first world, like where you like clear the clouds and you get to like the second land after beating like the boss of the land or the world. So not that far.
Oh, we are like almost in the same spot. I just kind of played like the first level of the second world, I think.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Oh.
Alright, so basically a quick overview. Developed by HAL, obviously, and released yesterday, March 25th, 2022 for Nintendo Switch. 17th mainline Kirby title. The game was revealed back in September of 2021 in a Nintendo Direct. It is produced for Kirby's 30th anniversary, and it is the first full 3D mainline game. Many previous projects had been canceled because they couldn't get a 3D Kirby game right just how they wanted it. And the game, yeah, how should we do this, Hannah? Do you want to talk to me about your thoughts so far?
Yes. So when I played the demo, which was not that long ago, it was an instant buy for me, right? I mean, first actually 3D Kirby game, awesome. Especially because Kirby Star Allies left such a bad taste in my mouth. I was like, I need to taste something better before this is just my opinion of Kirby games in general. But yeah, the demo was a ton of fun, but what I've experienced so far is the game is so much more than a demo. Like, I feel like demo doesn't really do it that much justice. Like, there's so much more to do than those first couple of levels. Do you agree?
I didn't play the demo.
Oh, you didn't play the demo? Dang, you just jumped right in. Good for you.
I totally trusted you and all of like the positive things I was hearing, and just went for it.
But yeah, as far as the actual game, I have some things here. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, go for it. I have things as well.
So like we said, I think I'm only a couple hours in. I can't be more than like 2 or 3 hours in. So basically the game, there's no hub world. It's essentially just like a map with like different levels, and Kirby flies around like on like a little star, and you pick a level from there. But there is like a town where the Waddle Dees, like that's what you have to save. That's like the main objective in every level is to save the Waddle Dees. They build up a town as you go, and the more Waddle Dees you collect and save, the more things you unlock, like buildings and whatnot, which I think is really cool. The one thing I will say about the gameplay so far is each level is very linear. Like, it's not like an open world or like a Super Mario sandbox where you can go wherever. There's still a set path that you have to go on, but like obviously there's like a bunch of things that are hidden. There's hidden paths and hidden things, which I think is where the charm of the game comes from.
Yeah.
I will note though that further I explore into the game and beat the game, like the more paths open up. I think there's also like little side levels where it's like a timed thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be really good at it to get like a good score, like beat a score and unlock like a crystal, which then the crystal can be used for like upgrades and stuff, which I think is really cool. I have heard that the story is actually really interesting and there's like a bunch of plot twists, but of course I didn't want to look that up because I didn't want to spoil it for myself and I didn't want to spoil it for anyone else because it's literally only been out for a day. The world itself is absolutely beautiful. Like, dare I say, it's better looking than Super Mario Odyssey. Do you agree?
I don't agree.
You don't agree? I think the water levels in this one look way better. Can't believe you don't agree. But then that's okay. That's fine. And also, I wanted to point out the camera for a second because that's like the very first thing that I noticed. So like the opening of the game, I don't want to give too much away, but you follow behind Kirby through the forest, and then once you get through the forest, the camera like zooms out and it shows you like the entire cityscape that's been overrun by like bushes and stuff. And I just think that was such a beautiful shot. Like, it shows you how tiny Kirby is and how big the city is that you're going to be exploring. I love that. And I think the camera just kind of, it's perfect. It like follows you around and then it zooms out when it needs to. I think it's just so cool.
It's a very cool opening scene for sure.
Yep. Those are my thoughts. Loving it so far. Definitely recommend.
The game has received 9s across the board. Like high 8s and 9s. I think IGN gave it like an 8.5 or something. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but definitely 8s and 9s across the board. My thoughts immediately. The game starts off and it's like, hey, do you want to play like a 6-year-old or do you want to play wild mode?
Oh yeah.
Which I thought was awesome. There was no doubt in my mind after Star Allies that I was going with wild mode.
Same.
But the other mode, just a quick little thing here, Spring Breeze mode is a reference to Kirby Superstar, because that is the first game mode in Kirby Superstar, which is very cool. Okay, so each level has multiple missions. I think that is really freaking cool. It's like optional side quests, but I really want to do them. Like, I don't know how much they benefit me. Well, I do know. They give you more Waddle Dees through the level.
Yep.
But yeah, they're like super cool little side challenges, and I love it. The graphics are pretty good, but they could be better, honestly. I think Luigi's Mansion 3 is still the standard for me. That game was freaking gorgeous.
That game is very nice.
2-player co-op is available in this game. Haven't tried it myself, but I
With
think
Bandana D.
Yeah, Bandana Waddle Dee is player 2, so I think you just get to use the spear he has.
That's cool.
So there's fighting sections, which are fine. You know, I haven't experienced a difficult one yet, but you're trapped in a little area. Reminds me of Twilight Princess. Actually, I think I'm thinking of a different game. No, Twilight Princess does that, right? Where you have to fight the little shadow guys.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can't escape for a minute. Anyways, that's an interesting like little change of pace in each level. There are big boss fights at the end of each world. Still very easy, unfortunately. I beat the first boss. Did you beat the first boss?
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you got to world 2. I honestly, I just like mashed the attack button and beat this dude in like 30 seconds or something, and it was just like, am I really playing on wild mode? Like, I don't know. Whatever. I'm just going to accept that Kirby games are easy, and that's what I have to expect for the rest of my life. But
see, I'm okay with this one being easy because the world is so interesting.
That's you really hit the nail on the head with what you said. I think what this game is focusing on is the exploration. I think that's what they really want you to do. They want you to go and do all these little side challenges, and it's not going to be difficult, but you should find like a little bit of difficulty trying to uncover all of the secrets in each level. And I can appreciate that. Star Allies did not have that.
No, man. Star Allies was way too easy and way too short, but we've already covered that.
There is an emphasis on the collectible statues, and hey, there is a freaking upgrade system. Did you see that yet?
I did see that. That is super cool. I forgot to mention that.
It's like such a small upgrade system, but I'm so here for it. Like, you actually have to put in a little bit of work to upgrade your power-ups, but it's totally worth it. It's so cool. I love it.
It is cool.
The challenge stages are pretty fun, like you mentioned, but they are pretty darn easy. It feels like the development team... Okay, Hannah, listen to me. It honestly makes me so mad that you like this game because you hate Super Mario 3D World, and this is literally Super Mario 3D World. This is exactly what this game is.
I don't know. Okay. I don't hate. Hate is a very strong word. There are very few games that I absolutely hate. It didn't suck me in like other Mario games did, and that's just because it's a different style. But see, Kirby, this is something very new for him. I don't know, I just felt like, it's different. You're comparing apples to oranges here.
I feel like the development team took Kirby and threw him in Super Mario 3D World, and for me that is freaking awesome because it's one of my favorite games ever made, and I'm loving this game already. The levels are nice and long. Like, seriously, like you said, you've put 2 to 3 hours into this game already, and you're only through World 1. If this was Star Allies, you'd be done with the game.
You'd have been done with the game in the first 30 minutes.
So yeah, I'm freaking loving it. I'm taking my sweet time getting through each level. I even played one level twice because I missed one of the side missions. Like, I'm just having a blast.
I've been playing several levels multiple times.
Really?
Yeah.
Mouthful mode is a very fun gimmick. I like that they included that.
I agree. My favorite one, though, besides the car and like the cone and stuff, is the big like disc, and you just like poof, do a puff of air at enemies. I love that one. I don't know why I find that so enjoyable.
Oh yeah.
Because Kirby just looks so goofy.
There's a freaking vending machine, and you shoot cans out, and you have ammo. I love it. It's so cool.
I agree. Definitely agree. I think it fits his copy abilities so well, though. It's like, oh, of course that's the next evolution. That just makes sense.
Yeah, and then you even have to push a button to spit out whatever you are holding. Like, they literally took Mario Odyssey and put it into Kirby. That's what this is.
Well, I would argue that Kirby did it first. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
I guess that's fair.
But yeah, I love it. Definitely check it out. If nothing else, at least play the demo.
Screw the demo. Just enter the giveaway. You're absolutely going to win, right? You have to be the one person that wins. Yeah, so like we mentioned at the beginning, you should totally enter our giveaway. All we're asking for is a review on YouTube or on, not YouTube, but Apple Podcasts, or we're being nice Spotify. And you can drop a like on the YouTube video and drop a comment. Just send us a screenshot on whatever. I don't have to go through the directions again, but one more thing before we finish. I did want to read the Discord responses. So, like always, we ask the audience a question, and we like to have the responses read. So, the question this month: what are your fondest or earliest memories with the Kirby franchise? So, we have 2 really solid responses here that are, we usually have a lot of small ones, but we're gonna have 2 pretty long ones this time. So, V Capone from the Discord says, when I was younger, around 5 or 6 years old, I was staying at my grandparents' house for the summer one year, and the neighbors across the street were having a garage sale. I went over, and they had a few NES games, and Kirby's Adventure was in the pile. The pink character in the middle and the eyes in the corner of the label interested me. From what I remember, they gave me the cartridge because they were friends with my grandparents. Went back to my grandparents' house and played it all the way through and beat it on my NES. Had such a fun time playing it. I played through it multiple times and beat all the mini games. Because of these fond memories, it's become my favorite game ever. At the time, I was still too young to understand what Kirby was. To understand that Kirby was a Nintendo character. I was young and was just playing a game. Played whatever was available. The next significant memory was a few years later. My cousin brought over Super Smash Bros. For the N64, and I had no idea what to pick, so I picked the round pink character named Kirby. As I was playing, I started to put two and two together and realized that this is the character from Kirby's Adventure. Ever since then, Kirby has become one of my favorite characters. I own every game that he has in... I own every game that he was in, at least CIB or sealed condition. As I'm writing this, I'm on a train to New York City to go to Nintendo New York for the release of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And then he said, update, I got a copy of the game, some free Kirby promo swag, and memories that'll last forever. So a pretty cool one, a pretty cool thing about this is he sent me a picture of him and his girlfriend wearing matching Kirby t-shirts and taking a picture at the NYC store, and then he sent me a link later, and Nintendo actually posted his picture on their Nintendo NYC Twitter account. So that was pretty freaking cool.
That's so cool.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, Vinny is a huge Kirby collector. Literally every game, CIB. And then this next one is more of a serious one that is actually a really, really cool thing. 2017 was mentally the roughest year prior to me getting medicated. Yeah, which resulted in a lot of suicide attempts / substance abuse issues to help cope with everything. I played Kirby Epic Yarn on the Wii for the first time, and the game literally saved my life. No more suicide attempts, and led to me getting proper help. I'm not sure why, but I'm assuming it's just because of how happy the game made me at the time. If any game is going to make you happy, it's got to be Kirby. This dude is freaking adorable, and the games are nothing but happiness, and that is an awesome story, man. That was my man Funtime Wallace.
That is awesome.
Kirby out here saving lives, and not just in Dreamland, also in real land.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, it was kind of lame. Very corny.
Very true, though. Very true.
All right. Anything else, Hannah?
No. But I will apologize. I did not post a question on my Instagram this time. That is my bad. But next time for sure. Be right back at it.
Yeah, I was thinking that would have been a tough one to answer on Instagram anyway. But
yeah.
Next time for sure. Thank you guys so freaking much. We're so grateful to have been supported. We have thousands of listens across all of our episodes across all platforms, and we're just happy that people want to hear us talk about video games for hours at a time. For 25 episodes, you guys are freaking awesome.
I agree. You guys are the best. The highlight of the month for sure.
What's up?
I said it's the highlight of the month.
Oh, that is adorable. We have been on the phone for a hot minute. This has been a very long podcast, but very worth it, I would say. So make sure that you enter this giveaway, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Where can the people find you, Hannah Montana?
Game Real Advance SP on Instagram.
I am at Bird Dog Gaming on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Literally reach out to me anywhere. If you're on YouTube listening to this, the links to our social medias are in the description, making it super easy for you to DM us that screenshot. If you're scared of me, Hannah also has her DMs open.
Yeah, don't be scared. Don't be scared of me.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys in April.
See ya.